But if we do, I have a hard copy going on. So we're there. Skiboodon, Skibidi, Papa Doop. And then I get to say, hi, I love you, Christy. Yes. What an overdue show.
It's been a few years that we talked about this.
And I owe you an apology because I had
It's
to
your
cancel.
fault.
I know.
Like every time.
I honestly didn't even think you were going to come back after I had to cancel. I was like, she's never going to come back.
Oh, of course I would.
But thank you. Can I just start with my own little love for you?
You do have at it.
For those people that don't know who this woman is, if you've had a run-in or she's an acquaintance or this, that, and the other, allow me the opportunity to tell you what she means to me. Yeah? You have been probably the most pivotal, imperative piece of my healing process as a human being, not only in the midst of that injury that I had went through, but being someone, you're the most consistent person that I've seen ever practice what they preach. And I've always resonated with you since back in the day when I would just see you bouncing around. And there was always this attractiveness about you that was beyond your vanity of just like, okay, here's Christy, this sexy, beautiful woman. You ooze this, I got things, but watch how I roll. And you have taught me so almost everything, actually everything you have taught me on purpose or inadvertently, I've implemented in my life, holistically, homeopathically, dietary, I mean, the whole thing. And it's been so powerful to my life. And not only my actual health, but here and everything. And I just want you to know that I love you.
Oh, thank you.
And you are an amazing human being. And I kind of, for a long time, this show will be a big deal to me because I refer you to anyone who ever asks me, like, well, how did you get back on the healing process? But you had been working on me before. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, we're going to get into it, but you do a lot of I'm just calling it like body work in general, because you're not niched in a corner of like, she does this.
No, you can't box me.
You get so intimate with people and what they're dealing with. And my point is, thank you. You're love welcome. You. And to see you now and still doing what you're doing and how you work on yourself and knowing those that I really resonate with the best, I know they've been through, we're all going through shit. But I've since the minute I met you, I was like, however you're able to put it somewhere and keep going, I've always loved it about you. And what I've also loved is that by consequence of time, you've shared more with me and allowed me to see what superhuman really you really are. And I love you for that. So anyways, long intro, sorry people, but this woman is very important to me, very dear. And she has been pivotal to my health. And for those that don't know, I was hurt for the first time ever because of soccer. And I went through, it was a really, really and because of you and a few people that helped me, it was amazing. And I'm back.
Yeah, you're doing great too.
So thank you. That's Christy. But where can we, I want the world to hear you. Does make sense? I don't know why, but ever since we talked about doing the show, when we vibe behind the scenes and you've worked on me in this, I've always wanted I wanted the world to see and hear you. You have so much to be said. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, of course.
Can we take it from where do you want to take it? Because
I mean, we can start where I'm at right now. I'm finally at a place where I can let the world hear the truth of me. And, we all have our story, of course. Mm-hmm. But it's really hard for people to be extremely authentic in their story and to be honest about it and the things that maybe they have shame and guilt about that they've done to survive, to get through, whatever. I mean, we all have it. And I'm just at a place now where, I hope this doesn't sound terrible, I don't care what people think of me anymore. I just don't. I don't, because I know who I am so well. And I also know why people think the things they would of me in the way that they do. And I have a comprehension of that. So there's not even any judgment if someone comes along and it's like, oh, that girl. And I hear that so much with so many people. And it's like, no, you whatever it is that you're trying to think about me is just somewhere inside of yourself that you're not free. And I am. And you don't like that. And that's okay.
I've noticed, and I appreciate your vulnerability, because I being no idea what the fuck I'm doing and watching and learning. And that I'm super privileged with people feeling comfortable and safe with me and they confide in me. And I've noticed that this is probably nothing paramount or profound to those that have heard it before or have this happen in their life. But women are really mean to other women, more so than to 30, 3 to 4 times a week. There's really no real vendettas, and we're not like it's. I've noticed women are really hard on other women, and it's once again to those that are hearing this and maybe like, yeah, duh, I'm not a girl, and I have a lot of women confide in me. I'm always surprised to see how women could be so mean, and I would say it's a fair statement without getting into the specifics. Women can, it's very, they're the ones that also can be your besties, which has always been peculiar for me. As I like, my good friends talk shit in front of my face. They, like the ones I grew up with, and they're the biggest assholes that I've ever met, but I love them.
Right.
Whereas like, I don't have a lot of dudes that like literally are in a car with me for an 8-hour trip that like want me dead. But women can pull that off.
We can.
It's incredible.
We can be the best friend to somebody, and behind the scenes, like,
so
the
when
shit that gets talked is like, did you just say that? I watched you be the best friend to that person for the last 2 days.
Right.
Wow.
So let's a little chronological. How does what's Christy's story when she how does she become the person you are in like Florida? How does Florida become, if you don't mind, we'll take it chronologically from that point. For those who don't know you, give me some of your, how did we got here?
My ex-husband was moving here, and it was either you're coming or you're not. So,
and where are we from at that point?
From Rhode Island.
Okay, up north. Here we go.
Up north. Yep.
Give me a timestamp.
I mean, I think I was maybe 24, 3.
Okay.
I was younger.
So like a couple years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. 5 days ago. So, actually, my 40th is coming up. I know.
I'm right behind you.
I love it.
I'm embracing it
better
now.
than my 20s.
I just love that none of the soccer guys really know how old I am.
Oh my gosh.
I still like,
you
I'm
fit
25.
Right in with them all.
So the 40, but okay, so you're in your 20s-ish, you're married.
Well, I moved here and got married.
Okay. So, and he was a New Englander too?
Yep.
So here we come. What brought you, what was the purpose? Did we have family, friends, job, or just because the Florida allure?
The construction thing that was happening at that time.
Okay.
And then of course we got here and it flattened out and boomed. And
were you here in 98-ish?
I don't know timelines.
I know, me neither.
Like
people are really good at it though.
Age. They are. They can tell dates and stuff. I'm like,
the guy that just did the show before, he was like in 2000. I'm like, damn.
And they literally say August 22nd.
Yeah. So I won't hold you accountable to like clue. What? You don't know what year? Everything is Jim Gaffigan actually said that to Dan Rogan. He's like, everything's 5 years ago. All right, so you're here. Here we are. We're in Florida. Where in Florida are we at that time? Where was you? You actually came here first?
Yeah, we came right here.
I thought you were somewhere like. All right, so you're in the Palm Compton.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right here.
All right, and then what do we want to cover as far as here we are? Did you come here with? Were you open-minded, or were you like, fuck this place?
So I did not want to move here at all.
I could feel it.
Not at all. I didn't want to be here, but of course he was coming, and I was in love, and we were getting married. So
this is your atypical.
I did it for the man.
You did it for the man.
Shit.
So how long, if you don't mind me asking, because I told you none of these questions are premeditated, but how long are you in this kerfuffle of like, I don't want to be with, you know what I mean? Because obviously things don't. You're not with him.
No.
Right.
No.
So how long, if you don't mind me asking, how long were we with him before you started to branch off and carve your own pom com?
I met him when I was 20.
Okay.
And my son was a couple months old at that time. And he was amazing. He came right in and, it was the damsel in distress story. Okay. And it was the perfect damsel in distress story.
Right.
He came in and just took care of us and was absolutely unbelievable to raising my son with me and took him in as his own, which was exactly what I needed at that time. And I had come from Christianity. And so in that, what I picked up was, the man is the man at the house and the woman serves the man. And so it was that whole thing that I had in my mind. And whether, he was that too or not, it was what I saw and what I did. Mm-hmm. So, when we did move here and I was going to be his wife, I was the housewife. Mm-hmm. And that was that. And that just after a while didn't work out for me quite well.
Back then, beyond just your relationship coming from the Christianity format, were you being supported in a lot of your life decisions prior, like in and around that time, by family, friends, etc.? Or have
not
you?
At all. I was always suppressed completely. It was either Christianity and I served my God, and that was that.
Mhm.
Or I was a wife now and taking care of my son, and that's what I had to do. So there was no what Christy wanted or who Christy was. And
Okay.
whether I created that or the people around me did, I'm not quite sure as I look back, because I believed, and no offense to Christianity or
No, of
religion at
course.
all, like I'm not saying anything bad, but from my experience, that like my God was my God, and I was going to follow that Bible
Right.
to the T. And so there was no me in any of that.
At that time too, had you been away from your zip code really at that point, or was this your first endeavor of life where you had?
This was my first big move here. So, and we didn't know anybody.
I was going to
I
say,
didn't have
yeah.
any family. So it was just, me and my husband.
Can you recollect the feelings that you had then? Like can you go back to there, whether they were good, bad, and indifferent? Can you remember that? Or have we metamorphosized so much that's like?
I remember there being a lot of just loneliness and no connection, because at the time my husband was never around. He just worked. He was a working man. He was a horse, and that was it. And, he would say, and I'm sorry if you're listening, but he would say, I'll be home for dinner at 7:00. And then I would be all ready, because that's all I had to do was get ready. And that was my life, was we're going to dinner tonight with my husband, and he wouldn't show up. Wow. And I'd be waiting. And it was just that kind of thing. And so I was completely alone. And, it was years of that. And it was hard for me to say, I can't
imagine.
Yeah, I've got to break free of this. But then in the back of my mind, it's like, this is your husband. You have to make this work.
Right.
Because that's what we're conditioned.
At that time too, because this is all beautiful information. This is stuff that you've never even shared with me, but I could taste. You give me pieces and parts of it. And for those that are listening, you have no idea how precious this is for me, because this isn't very normal for you, in my opinion. So love this. I've always taken you as somebody who's this, like, I want to keep up with, like, where are you going? And like, I feel like almost in an analogy, no matter where you've been, you're the first one macheting you wouldn't even hurt the plants. You're more of like,
pave the way.
And I'm almost like, where are you going? Yeah. But there's this sense of curiosity, because you're going somewhere good. Yeah. But when that perseverance and that agility that I taste, is that when it started to be cultivated, or have you always been that, like, even as a schoolyard kid, were you always like, where is she going? Like figuratively and literally, or is that where it starts to happen because you're like, I'm following the matrix norm? If you like, you hear my heart, like,
yeah, I hear you. I've always felt a lot of things I wasn't able to express because I was so repressed in certain ways. But it really was when I moved here and then found yoga, and just it was in that moment where it was like, whoa, just a huge wake up. So I was aware of it subconsciously, but I don't think that physically I was able to even express it because I was never allowed to. So there was no path to be able to do that.
So yoga starts to be your segue.
Oh yeah.
You start, I'm sure you're starting to be around other people that are looking for enlightenment, self growth. Right? Like, cause you're doing it by yourself.
Yeah. I got a job. It was my first like real serious job at Conrad Yelvington.
Okay.
And they're all have to dress perfect and be perfect. And I mean, literally they're checking us in the door, heels,
so it's
makeup,
like I don't know what that is. It's a fancy pants place.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just, they I don't want to say anything rude, but they just keep everything.
It's posh.
They keep it all
bougie.
Posh. It's super bougie.
So you're all bougie.
We have to be bougie. And it's that's so not me. And then a coworker of mine, Becky, was like, hey, we're going to go to yoga. And I'm like, yoga.
Right.
Yoga.
Right.
Like, that is not who I am. Those people are in a cult. They're insane. Right. Absolutely not. And we started a 21-day challenge, and I just hit that first day. And we started with a group of people, and I was the only one that finished. And I didn't only finish, but I kept going for like maybe 2 months. I just kept going. And of course, after that, it was just never ending.
And back then too, were you always someone that had a good sense of mind and body? Did you always taking care of yourself?
Yeah.
You always kind of like knew, no matter what, for vanity purposes or inside purposes, you were not someone that was drinking 10 days a week. Like were like,
not at all.
You had a true north even then.
Of course.
So this starts to complement you. You're finding the yoga, and now I would imagine you're starting to kind of like you're going through your first of many metamorphoses, right?
Yeah, well, like I'm starting to stand in my power just a tiny bit, and now I'm going home to that, and the husband's like, "What are you doing? You're in a cult, like, and
well, I empathize with that
I was
because
growing, but he wasn't.
Right. Well, you think about it. We are a little bit time stamped, meaning this wasn't obviously a couple years ago, and I remember finding out about, even though yoga is nothing new under the sun, but when you're learning about it, it did kind of have this like, what, especially from a Christianity background, what is this? Like, so I can imagine the apprehensiveness. So here we are, you're cultivating this, you're seeking inner peace and purpose. And how old your son at this point ish? Give her, because I need to be exact, but like, is he taught? Okay, so he's not toddler. He's
a little older.
Are you being? I would imagine this is a rhetorical question that you're not, but are you being? This isn't being well received by your husband and like your immediate nucleus group of, I'm sure, like he or she. Like, you're not supposed to be doing this.
No.
Right.
I mean, not that he wasn't supporting it, because he was supportive in a way, but it was the growth part,
right?
Because he wasn't going to grow, and it was just money, job, work,
right?
Dinner on the table,
sit there,
yeah,
right.
Sort of,
okay,
kind of like that.
And now, when does your leap? I would imagine there had to have been a massive leap of, I'm out, which must have been, if may I ask, that moment in life.
Yeah, of course.
Holy banana bears! I can only imagine. Not only are you here in a foreign land, so to speak, no friends, no immediate family. I'm sure you had acquaintances and stuff, but like no one you could really confide in. And now you start to probably plan an outlet of like, this isn't right, and I have to. So can you remember those feelings?
Absolutely. Oof. So I was doing yoga for a little bit, maybe a year or so, and I met a guy.
Okay.
And my husband at that time was, I think he'd gotten sick, and he was starting Lyme's disease or something, and it was just a lot of mental stuff going on, and he was just very angry, and I'm just not an angry person at all. Mm-hmm. So that was hard for me, and I wasn't getting the attention at all that I should have been getting. And I met a guy that started giving me attention, and he was extremely yoga, like very in the spiritual world.
Right.
And I was blown away by that.
So you guys connected. So now
we connected, and we started having an affair.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now you start to, like I said, to me, I feel like you've had many metamorphoses of greatness. Every time I seem to talk with you, there's this like, you've figured out a new, even when you started getting me microdosing and things, there's always like, you're in tune with finding out more about how to become better. So here's got to be one of your first of many transformations that you're going through. Here you are. And once again, I can only imagine through the adversity of being told you're an idiot, right? I would imagine from the immediate crew. I know that feeling. So that's why I'm saying it appropriately. It's like, whatever you're doing, you're wrong, you're this, you're that. I would imagine. Is that a fair statement?
I don't know that I told anybody that it was really happening.
Oh, yeah. So you kept smart.
I kind of kept it
smart.
It's a weird thing to say, but it was mine. It was the first thing that was mine, that I wasn't being told what to do, how to do it, where to go, what to be. But it was the first thing that I felt was, this is mine.
You didn't want no noise.
Yeah, exactly. And I wanted to just be with it and experience it. And it was phenomenal. It woke me up. I became alive.
And I value that in you, that you, instead of, and we were just talking about this before the show, and I talk about this a lot with people. There's something to be said about being loved and having a tribal effect and having a tribe and having people that care about you and ask about you. But there is something also to be said about, in the adulting realm, as you do get older, wise people don't speak too much. Mm-hmm. And when they do, it's specific to the point, and not because they're jerks, or I just noticed that it's like I told you earlier, whatever situations I'm going into right now, good, bad, and different, I tend to keep them even more and more and more private, not because I'm cool or not because they're scary. It's just that it's easier in the net 24 to 48 hours through the resolution of that issue, that I don't have to now hear maybe that was good, bad, different. And I also know, once again, I say it a lot, and I for those that I offend, I'm sorry, but it's really a statement. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, in a good way. And that doesn't mean that I'm playing in traffic. It just means that no one has any clue.
No one has any idea.
We're there's
nothing to be doing.
Right.
We're just doing it and going through the emotions of life. And
so I appreciate that you were like, you know what, I'm just going to keep this to me now. Mm-hmm. And something's got to be going on. Give me something chronologically, because I feel in my heart that something has to. Are we staying here geographically indefinitely from that period, or did you leave at that point? Like
no, so I stayed during that time. So really, for that year that I was with him, my husband didn't even notice. Honestly, he was so busy in work, and we weren't having sex at all. And I'm looking at myself at that age, and I'm not. huge ego or anything, but
Right.
I'm fucking gorgeous,
Right.
like head to toe perfection.
Still are, bro.
Thank you. And I'm just kind of looking at myself like, I don't understand this. I remember one night, like I'm trying to connect with him. I put this beautiful lingerie on. I do the whole entire thing,
Right.
light all these candles, all of that bullshit that I would never do now. And he came home from work and he just looked at me, blew the candles out. And I was like, damn, like, what is that? And at that time, I was not where I'm at now, where I would be like, hey, let's sit down and talk about this.
Right.
I took it personal. Now I know that nothing that is happening is personal to me. But then it was all personal. And right away, it was shame. And I'm ugly. I'm not enough. And all that just sunk into me. And it sat there for years. I'm not enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not intelligent enough. I'm not wise enough. I don't do enough business. I don't make enough money, like the whole thing. And I'll always remember that moment, because that around that time was when I was like, oh yes, to the man that came into my life that showed me, hey, you are enough. And I remember we were in child's pose and he put his mat down next to me and had a rock on my hand, of course. And I was Lululemon, full on makeup and yoga, which is ridiculous to me at this point. When I see that, I understand that though, which is why we go through the things we go through. And I remember him looking over to me and he was like, look at that rock on your hand. And I go, it's beautiful, isn't it? And he says, if you took it off, you'd be more beautiful. And it just, something about that was like, fuck. So, I mean, that's who that person was to me, like to show me you are beautiful, you are enough. And not saying that my husband that is a bad person. He's an amazing man. We just didn't know life the way that we do now. We were still young. So that was a huge moment for me. And that year I allowed myself to receive that I was enough and I was beautiful. And I was surrounding myself with different things that were showing that to me now, instead of the things that were suppressing the beauty, the true beauty inside of me. I now was learning that, wow, if I put myself into the presence of something that shows me my true beauty, I flourish and I grow. So I did that for about a year and then he found out. I don't know if he found out or we sat down. I don't remember, but it came out.
But the moment came. Yeah.
And I said to him, I have to go. Like, this just isn't working. I don't feel loved here. And I'm starting to wake up to this whole new world of spiritualism. I'm going to always do this when I say that word because the full circle of where I've come. But I separated from him. So I left and went to my parents with my son. For a little bit, and
we're still at Palm Compton
in Palm Coast. And then my parents are very, Christian, and you have to make it work with your husband.
There's 60 babies, 67
exactly.
babies. That's how it is.
That's it. It's okay too. Yeah. You have to make it work with your husband, and then that started sinking in. The conditioning came back and sunk in, and so I told this other guy, like, I'm sorry, I can't do this anymore. And I said to him, when I ever get divorce papers, I'll come back around. And so I went back to my husband. Okay, you know exactly how that went for the next couple of years.
Wow.
He resented me completely, of course, and never touched me. We hardly taught. And I'm trying with everything I am. But now I know that what was I trying to do? Become something I wasn't.
Were you doing what you're being told to do, basically?
Well, what I thought that I should do.
Right.
What I thought as a wife that I should be doing. And so we ended up finally separating.
How long did that lapse?
That was a couple of years.
The second roundabout?
Yeah, maybe 3, 4.
Girl, in adulting years, it's like that. But in the grand, sitting in a room for 3 years is, wow.
I was trying to do what was right. I remember one time I was just talking to him. I had my mom over, and and I think he was sick at the time too. And he was also, doing some other, like, addicted to some other things that he wasn't letting anybody know about. So there was all that I didn't know about that I do now, where it's funny, full circle. I've helped him heal now at this point.
You didn't know?
No, I didn't know that he was addicted to pills, and I didn't know. Like, I didn't even know about that kind of stuff.
Back then.
I was not what I am now. Then. Yeah, I never. Wow. I don't even think I ever smoked weed at that point. Like, I was very pure and innocent. And so we were talking. I was talking to him about something pretty serious, and he was just staring at the wall. And I just said to my mom, like, watch this. And I remember saying to him, hey, I'm leaving you. We're never going to be together again. He didn't even hear me. So I was like, there's nothing here. I've got to go. So I finally made the decision to leave. And then through that whole time, I was working full time, taking care of my son, and also started getting into teaching yoga. So now I'm going in through teacher training, and I started teaching yoga. And then I was at Blue Moon and getting up at like 4 and 4:30 in the morning to
Wow.
teach a 5 a.m. class or 6 a.m. class, then to go from there to go to work until 5, and then I would teach teach yoga after class. So then I was doing that and not getting home till about 8 o'clock at night. So in the middle of all of that, I was like, this yoga thing is something. It's keeping me awake.
It never let you go.
It never let me go at all. It was a beautiful way to
It's
put
been
it.
it's been a love affair since too. Obviously we're
Totally.
going to get into that, but so this, I would imagine at some point that's when I probably start crossing paths with you, just
Yes.
genuinely in town, because you were a couple of different studios that I knew of, and I don't think you could live in or around this area and not know who you were at one point.
I
I
worked at, I think, every gym, every yoga studio. I was teaching like 18 classes a week and workshops.
I would say not knowing about the hints of some of what you've been through that made this glow. Knowing now, I can only imagine that's why you were a Phoenix fire woman. I mean, I remember meeting you in passing at some of the places. And once again, for those that are listening or have met you, there's always going to be an allure of you. You're beautiful, but actually like stopping and you're just, you're followed. Like people literally, that's like my analogy would be like, people want to hang out with, like, where is she going? Why? She went to the right. I'm going to the right. And you have this allure about you, but it's always because not only are you glowing in your Phoenix fire, but you're laughing and you're playing. Yeah. And I've known, and once again, for those that are super sophisticated, they know this is nothing paramount. But to me, I've learned that those that are laughing and playing the most are the ones that are the most fucked up.
Oh yeah.
And I say that out of love.
Oh no,
I'm not saying like, but I know that like the ones that are actually sitting in a corner with a sad face, they're fucked up too, but they're not able to, they can't overcome in this moment. I'm not saying that they're cast that way forever,
right,
but for you to be able to exercise that jubilee, I resonated with that. And now it makes even more sense why you were just like, F it, I'm going to do me. I got to keep the fire on and this, that, and the other. So that's where I'm starting to probably see you and hear about you. And you're just this super awesome, sexy yoga chick that's like, wow. So now, where do we get to where because when did you start really like, I may be breaking chronological order because I don't want to skip anything, but when you started kind of offering your own independent services, because you started, and that's what we're going to get to too, that what you offer independently, but had you always done that and it just wasn't very known, or did you were always plugged into somebody else's entity and servicing people?
I was always plugged into something else. Yeah.
So you didn't have like your own.
No, the first thing that I did that was my own was the yoga studio.
Wow.
That was the first thing I ever did that was mine.
That was yours. No.
And I fought for that bitch.
Right.
And I fought through it. Like
right.
That's a crazy story. Just that yoga studio that people have no clue.
Want to go there?
What was going on? Yeah, absolutely. I'm totally ready for that. I was not ready for that before, but I'm ready for that now, because not that I need anyone to see,
right.
but it's nice for people to understand that people are going through some shit. Like, give them a break.
Well, let's get into it. Where are we at? Like, give me I know we're, once again, years are out bad, but like, is this 5 years ago, 10? Like, give me an idea.
This is about 4 years ago or 3 years ago that I let it go. So I was there for 5 years. So it's like 8 years now.
For those that don't know, here you go. What is this about? You start your own.
So I started Yoga Studio 8 because I was managing at Blue Moon, and my Tuesday night classes were 70, 80 people wall to wall. Like, people were partying next door. So I was like, I think I'm onto something. I might actually be kind of good at this. Right. And it wasn't so much that I knew all the Sanskrit and the yoga poses and the anatomy. Like, that stuff never really resonated with me. It's because I brought just some realness into it. I would put the ghetto music on and shake my ass in class. And like, it was real. And people needed real. And people need real. They don't need all of that stuff. Like, we can cover up so much of ourselves worrying about the anatomy and this and that. And yeah, it's important, the basics of it, but is that really, do you have to say a whole class in Sanskrit? Is that going to make the class any better for anybody? In my opinion, absolutely not. So you're bringing
this like street yoga.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Completely.
I never knew this. I never knew that that's what was probably attracting people. It was like, I want it. It's like, okay, so here you are, you're getting this, you have this huge following. So you're like, I'm taking the leap.
Yeah. And I was divorcing my husband at the time. Like, what am I going to do?
Oh, that was coinciding all at the same time. I thought it was okay. Holy bananas.
Yeah,
here we go.
This is coinciding.
Oh boy.
So, I'm leaving him and I want to open up this studio. And he was like, all right, well, I'll give you a little bit to open the studio, and then we just have to be done with this.
Right.
And I kind of fought for it because I signed the lease, and then there was an entire year on that lease that I worked my ass off to pay it because I didn't have the money to open, and my husband wasn't going to give it to me at the time because we were divorcing, and it was just all on a hope and a prayer, literally. And I wouldn't give up on it. I just wouldn't. People came to me like, Christy, you're paying on an empty lease. Like, what are you doing? And it was at that time, I think $1,200 a month.
Wait, I'm confused. You had the space, but it wasn't being used.
But it wasn't. There was no build.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Wowzer bears.
Yeah. So I signed the lease, and at that time, my husband and I were like, I'll help you open it. We signed the lease. We were still kind of together. Right after that lease got signed, it just blew up, and he was like, I'm not doing this.
So you got a lease.
So I have a lease of $1,200 a month, an empty building, nowhere to live, no job, just yoga. And you only get paid $25, $35 a class for yoga. So I was like,
as a sub, as like a
yeah, as a subcontractor. Wow. So I said, I'm going to work my ass off, and I taught 18, 19 classes a week, 3-4 classes a day, workshops if I could, anything that I could. And by the end of the month, because, it's not a lot of money, I was just pretty much paying the lease. Right. I was working to pay the lease to keep the place open. Nobody was helping me. And I just saw this dream, though, and I wasn't giving up on it. And the dream was that I'm going to create a place where people can come and feel free and be absolutely what they are without any judgment whatsoever. And anybody that judges is out the fucking door. And that's it. And I paid on that thing for a full year. And I remember one night I went in, my father says to me, honey, it's okay. He's trying to give me a different perspective. It's okay if you let this go. It's not that you failed. And I just was like, I get emotional thinking about it. Right. Like, no, that's not okay. That's not okay to give up on your dream. That's just not okay with me. And I went into the building, and, there's wires hanging from it. It's just bad. And I look around, and I'm like, this is impossible. There's no way. I don't have credit or anything. I've got nothing. And no income, no proof of job, nothing. And I just got on my knees and prayed. And at that time, I was kind of going in between, like coming out of Christianity, like, what is God? What is spirituality? Who the fuck am I even praying to? And I just authentically was like, whatever it is fucking out there.
You surrendered.
Yeah, I let go. I said, if I'm not supposed to be doing this and this was just a lesson, thank you for the lesson. I accept. But if this is supposed to happen, make this fucking happen now.
I need it.
I need this. I'm not going to do another year of this. I'm killing myself for nothing. I can't even feed myself. And of course, no one knows this is happening. I just come into class. I'm happy as can be, encouraging everybody, waking everybody else up. And then I'm coming home crying, like sometimes sleeping in my car. And then, no joke, the next day I had this woman, Karen Sutton, and she's like, gives me an envelope. And I thought that it was for my birthday, because it was around that time. And I opened up the envelope while I'm driving, and it's for an amount of exactly what I needed for like the first portion of what needs to be done. And it wasn't a whole lot, but it was a lot
still.
And it was exactly what I needed to start it. So it was like, there's the sign. This is going to happen. I'm not going to give up. And I really, truly believe, because I didn't give up, that I received it.
How many months was this into the lease? Like, was it month 2, 3, 4?
This was month 12 or 13. Yeah. So she gives me that, and I was like, all right, I can just, I don't know, hire someone to put up a wall. I don't know, fucking something.
I have one wall.
Happen. I have one wall. We're good here. We can do yoga against that one wall, or even clean the place up. Who knows? And then a couple of days later, my husband called me, and he's like, all right, whatever. I'll do what I need to do. We're going to get this done. And so he came in, and he did the build out, and we got it done. I opened up that studio with negative $435 in the bank. Negative, nothing. That's how I opened the studio. Happy as can be. I didn't even have the money to hire. I hired 2 people to come sing and do live music. I didn't even have the money to pay them. And I was like, I'll figure it out. I think I even wrote them a check that was bad. I don't know. But I got it open.
It worked out.
And it was unbelievable for about the first year and a half. It was just unreal. The money was flowing in. Right. Everything was great. I was super in my flow, in my game. I was on, and then a guy comes in. And then I just kind of lost focus. And it still did great. I mean, the place was always packed out and wall to wall. I mean, and of course, it wasn't making as much money as it was needing to make. The rent was high. I struggled to pay it every month. And then after about 3 years, it was just hard. Like, I was too small to be big to be small. I still had I'm not a big, huge book person, credit, all that. Like that's not how this world revolves in my mind.
Right.
So I didn't have credit to like pull money. I didn't have any investors. Nobody believed in my vision but me. And I remember one night I didn't have the money to pay the electric. And I'm just sitting in there. Literally, I was sleeping in there, sleeping in my truck. I didn't have a place to live, but I was just in full surrender to giving everything I could to this studio because I couldn't imagine at that point, halfway through, the people that were in there, I couldn't imagine taking away their sacred space. And so it was just important to me that I figure it out. But, you know, yoga doesn't make a lot of money.
Yeah, this is
not enough to pay the rent,
girl. I love the part of the surrender part because that I share that in common, and I know that pain. Obviously, my situation is different, but I know that feeling of, and that's usually, it is rather spiritual. And I mean, it's been written in scrolls thousands of years before we've been alive. It's usually in the midst of the desert you find the oasis.
Oh, it's always.
You know, it can't
it's
be.
Not usually. That's the only way that it happens, honestly, from what I've experienced up until now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what do you see? And I bet you, because we share similarities, and I'm branded as a guy that's fuck the whole town. I'm branded as a guy that doesn't work. I'm branded as a guy. I got a lot of fun brands. I think they're wearing off over time because consistency. It's kind of like I'm not that cool anymore. There's other people now. But my point is that when you seem to, I'm easily hated. I'm a very easily not liked guy because people actually think that it's an act. You know, wearing the woman's. This is literally a woman's sweater.
I love it.
And my shorts are
the shorts.
I'm an easy target.
Yeah.
And when they all of a sudden those that know that, oh, wait a minute, he's literally just wearing that because it's comfortable, it's practical, this conversation is not about me or my attire. It's more of people like to not like other people that smile.
Yeah.
It's an easy target. I don't even said that before, but it's pretty fucking fact. And I've noticed that but there's obviously a large percentage in a crowd out there that vibe that way. You know, it could be the little old lady, the little old man, or indifferent of age that you see and they're just smiling and you go, I love that guy. Like, I don't know what it is, but I like that guy with no selfish motive because you can't steal a smile.
No.
You know?
No.
So you have probably, and I say this out of complete sincerity, no one's ever said to me anything to you about, no one even knows that we vibe. Actually, I've always told you, you've been my best kept secret.
Because you're special. We keep it a secret.
That's right. Now, I've referred you as a professional.
Yeah.
But as far as like how much I love you and how much I vibe with you, you've seen everything. I've pretty much told you like my life from behind the scenes. I wanted you to know from a healing perspective, and I know that I can taste. Why I feel comfortable doing so is that you've had a lot of shit thrown at you. I can taste it.
Oh yeah.
There's only one taste.
Yeah.
And I can imagine that in those moments, the people that may had seen behind the scenes, you know, it's like you go to Universal Studios and you see like, oh shit, like there's little wooden stakes holding that up.
Right.
They're not real buildings. That doesn't bother me because at the end of the day, to me, I feel like there's such a difference and a separation from church and state, figuratively with humans, that it's called the fucking matrix for a reason. It's high fructose corn syrup way of living. And I think what's probably been your biggest kryptonite from my own hypothesis on you is that you hate the matrix.
Oh, completely.
You hate it.
I'm here to take down the empire.
I know.
I knew that from the moment I was born, why I was here.
And everyone hates it. No one ever actually, but you don't even want it on.
No.
Most people want it on to go get their money, to go to this. You're like, how do I figure this out without a shirt on in a good way? You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to.
I've been figuring that out. I won't do that.
I'm proud of you.
You can't. That's not real. You just can't do
well,
it.
It's
it
tough.
Takes away from who you are completely in every category.
True. But I empathize with a lot. Think about it. When it's like hearing anybody out. It's like hearing anybody that has any kind of online syndication. You automatically come up with an illusion of must be nice. Right. This guy, he's got to be. And then when you really watch them, like I told someone this the other day, I'm vibing out on this guy that has like basically a YouTube channel where he works at a thrift store and just shares his life. It's the most boring thing in the world. And I love it because he's so honest and he's so real, and the woebegons and the strengths and the weaknesses. And he's this Polish guy that has got a cat and a bird in his building, and he just works.
That's awesome.
And I love it. And he's not super famous, but he's way more famous than me, but not like Billboard famous. But what I love about it is that he's simple and he's real. And I think all of us would want to admit, like, oh, I love authenticity. I'm into the real stuff. But we're not. We're all guilty. We have to plug in at some point. And we all are guilty of putting gasoline and fossil fuels and some type of apparatus that make us go. And it's a byproduct of what we call consumerism. We're in it. So I'm not going to fight it as much as I used to. I used to want it, once again, I've said this before, but like I wanted to save the whales. I wanted to save AIDS. I wanted to cure the world of all of its woebegons. And then I started doing the 6 inches in front of the face, etc. But I'm mad proud of you, Christy. I love you. And I can't imagine these things don't go away. These feelings, it's scar tissue.
Oh yeah.
They're very real. They become part of your healing process. I look back on my healing, and you were part of every bit of it. You felt it, you helped it, you talked to me, you nurtured me, but it's still there.
Yeah.
The remnants of that are there, and it's made me stronger.
Yeah.
What would you change any of this at this point?
I wouldn't change any of it. To me, the most difficult part of it, which still affects me now, is when I did have to close down because I had to make a decision, and I was at my 5-year lease.
Okay.
And it's like, there's just no way I'm going to do this for another 5 years because I'm struggling and no one can see it. But and I felt like I was struggling for everybody else. But what about me? Like I wasn't even taking care of myself. And what hurt me the most is that I struggled to keep those doors open, and I gave more yoga away than I had paid for, and that was probably my biggest mistake. But I wanted people to be able to have a place to heal. But then when it came to the time towards the end that I needed to close, the amount of people that turned their back on me, and the amount of women that just got mad at me over the craziest things, like if you only understood what was really happening here, you would be ashamed of yourself right now for treating me that way.
Right.
And I remember having my last class and closing everything down. And then like a week later, just nothing. And I was like, wow, all this time, all these years, everybody's on my phone, just dumping on me. And I loved it. It's okay. I can hold your dump. I can hold on to it, and I'll carry it for you. But the amount of that happened, and then just the amount of silence once I didn't have this space anymore was like, it was a big eye-opening for me. Huge. That, I still am not quite sure what it is that I learned from it, but it hurts. It still hurts. And it hurts so much actually that I stopped doing yoga. I really don't do it as much. I don't hardly teach it. I still have a little bit of animosity towards it because I don't understand how something so beautiful, how so many people can take something so beautiful and just wreck it, because that's ultimately what ended up happening. And, there should have been more support all around for everyone. Everyone should have put in more support, because we could have kept the place open if only people would have been like, let me help. Let me show up and help. Instead, it's like, where's my paycheck? Let me give you your $35 because I have $40 in my account right now. Tonight, I'll leave down $5, but I'm going to give you the $35.
Right. I appreciate you being so vulnerable right now.
And, I can't tell you how many times that I would teach for free. I'll still that way. Like, let me help you. What can I do for you?
Well, you're relational, not transactional.
Yeah.
But this part of the story is real, because you're not saying that everything's okay. And that's a big deal.
Yeah.
And I value you for that. One of the things I've come to the realization recently about, let's make sure we're charged. I call it the Romeo and Juliet effect, where, the whole cliche story. It's like, if nobody wants us to be together, we're almost more in love. Like if they're like, don't, like, not that anyone did, but imagine someone's like, don't do a show at Christy. Like, I'm doing 4.
Yeah. I am that way all day long.
Right. And I think a large population of humans, we all are even in adolescence age. It's like, don't walk over there. We walk over there. I've noticed this, that as I get older and have more experiences with more and more humans that aren't home. My biggest kryptonite is, I think everyone's trying to do the best that they can when no one's looking.
Of course.
Come to the realization, and I'm no knight in shining armor, but I do a pretty good damn job at doing the right thing when no one's looking. I'm not hurting. And when I do misbehave, it's not on the coattails or the expenses of anybody else. It's on me. I don't owe anyone $5 or a hug, and that's why I feel my clarity. But here's what I found. I have some of these things, hurt people, but duh. someone owes you $5, they don't pay you back, you got rid of them for $5. There's all these things that we could look at. But what I've noticed is that, and I don't even blame anybody anymore as much as I used to, because I used to have a lot of animosity.
Yeah.
And I had to get rid of it. And it only came from realizing that we're so programmed, right? And I'm not here to teach anybody anything. It's just I'm learning this. We're so programmed, and we're programmed to continue to add, not subtract.
Right.
Subtraction. Right. Isn't it ironic that the minute I even say subtraction, it immediately feels like, don't take anything.
Exactly.
Like, what do you mean take? Like, for instance, like we need to subtract something from this table. Mm-hmm. Our brains are so programmed from consumerism that it's like, well, wait a minute. Let me make sure we need it all first. Mm-hmm. For instance, we don't need that chapstick at the end of the table there. Mm-hmm. So in theory, if this was a weight issue, which we are as humans, we're bearing weight psychologically, physically, etc. It'd probably be best if we're paying for that weight to get that other thing off the table. Yeah. So if I say, let's subtract something, we are mad at because that's how we're programmed. Yeah. But I've noticed we're not built that way. We're built to keep the chapstick at the end of the table because we might need it. Consumerism has taught us we might need it. So everybody that has hurt me, it's like I can't even get mad at them because they're hurting me while they're like holding 87 cans of chapstick. And I'm like, you realize that every time you go to hug me, I got chapstick all over my face because can you drop the chapstick? And this analogy is horrible.
No, it's actually great. I'm picturing you covered in that chapstick.
But I've noticed that they don't even mean to hurt, but life is so like work a job you hate, date or marry someone you can't stand, bear children with them. And on top of that, fuck everybody else. And now get mad at the person that you owe $10 to.
Yep.
And I've noticed that there's no, the execution of decision making and problem solving is so dwindled when you are not free. When you're not doing what you want to do and have to do it, it's very easy for me to say, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's exactly why I try to teach at this point what I teach, because this whole system will be better off if people are doing what they love to do. If someone's like, oh, where are you going to go work at a wine bar? Like, that's not even who you are. It's like, because I want to, because I've never done it before and because I want to. And because I think that it's going to bring me joy to talk to a lot of people again. I've been in my hibernation. I've been one-on-one. I want to get back out there. I'm not ready to hit the yoga world again. This is what I want.
I think you know this because you've been able to change your zip code and you've been places.
Yeah.
But some of the most happiest people in the world are those that don't have a lot of things, not just materialistic. I had a meeting yesterday with this beautiful man that couldn't speak English very well, had just moved here from another country and is working his ass off and is the happiest person. I probably have had a meeting. I've got tons of meetings with some of the most lucrative folk in the world. And it's appealing sometimes. I'm like, wow, you got it this, you got it that, you got it this. And once again, there's nothing wrong with having, as long as it doesn't own you.
Yeah.
But this man, we met out in person. And he rolls up and he's torn, tattered, but so happy. And he's so thrilled. And I learned this at a very, very young age. And I guess it's not as common as I thought. But I don't give a fuck what you do. If you work a job, there's no shame in any industry. There's no shame in any employment. There's no such thing as, it's going to be greener the other way. Just work your job. There's no shame. And I think people, as we're adulting, if you don't have a bunch of fancy acronyms behind your name by now, loser. How many houses do you own?
Right.
Only one, two. Yeah. And there's no shame in that. There's no shame in that. But if that's your only value, we're realizing like there's no irony that the celebrities that we did grow up with that are adult. I've always find it unique that we're actually adulting with them too. They don't know like Jay-Z. Yeah. Like we're doing it together, baby. Like I know you don't know what you're doing. They just get to change their name every so often. But what's the common denominator amongst most of these celebs? And we'll focus on the rap scene. They don't even wear any jewelry anymore. And Jay-Z always used to say, I don't wear the most expensive watch, I wear the right watch, etc. But they all had their season.
Yeah.
They all had their glitz and the glam and the drip and that and this. And we've all been there. You've been there.
Oh, yeah.
I've been there. And it may happen again. If
probably not.
You say that next month, you're like, look at this. But it's about keeping it. And once again, for those that may know me personally, they go, well, you got some nice things. But I do, but they don't own me.
Right.
And I'm the first guy to throw the keys at you with it because it's separation of church and state. It's not going to consume my thought process. It's not going to keep me up at night. But I'm once again reiterating and coming full circle on the fact that, woman, I'm proud of you. It's hard.
Thank you. It's a hard world.
I didn't
there.
know. I mean, I knew. It's like a you know, like a lion eats raw meat. I knew you were raw, but I didn't know some of this is very beautiful. And I appreciate you sharing it because it's vulnerable to say like you're still that hurts. And I didn't even know that you had kind of steered away from like yoga's your soccer.
Oh, it's so funny because people are like, oh, it's the yoga girl. It's like, I haven't hit a down dog.
Like, I don't even know how to spell it anymore.
I don't even know if I can do a split anymore.
But
it doesn't own me.
This literally is news to me too. I had I've never classified you as the yoga girl more than I would say just this. Like to me, you could save you're a superhero. You're so and you're strong and you're this. But I would have lost a bar bet of like, does Christy do yoga? Like 100 times a day.
You know what happened is it started to become who I was, and that label became who I was. And I just looked at that one day and said, "That's not who I am. It's not your identity. Actually, that's not my identity at all." And so I put it down completely because if I feel like something is becoming my identity to myself, I have to put it down. Wow. Because nothing is my identity because I'm many different things at many different times. And I have to own all different versions of me, not stay in one version of me because this is what everybody thinks that I am. So I need to live up to what they think.
Right.
No, not at all. And I've learned that more in the last year of my life than I've ever learned. And it's okay that I'm not teaching a bunch of yoga or that I don't own a yoga studio. Like I don't even... Sorry, everybody. I don't really care about fucking yoga anymore.
Right.
Not with what I've been through in the last couple of years. And I realized what's really important. It's not the yoga that's important. It's the finding what makes you feel alive and makes you feel authentic and real. Right. That's what's important.
Well, then that trickles into, for those that don't know, your personal journey and endeavor that you now bestow upon others. The journey that you go on with and the trips that you take and the work that you do. We'll get into that. Yeah. So when I had my, let's just say it was probably, to me, it was like my second or third rendition of you. Cause I didn't go to you for yoga. I came to you because I started seeing you promoting your Thai work, your body work. And I'm like, oh my God. And I had never seen a human being do that to another human being. And I remember like being able to like feel it. I'm like watching it on online. I'm like, I gotta call. So I remember calling you and I remember knowing of you by that time, but I never really had a conversation with you. And I was like, hi, I'm in love with you. And I need you like yesterday, like we're going to do this. And then for a very long time, once a month, I'd have you come over and you would do the most amazing work. For those that don't know, how would you classify that still as Thai body work?
I just call it Thai body work because I'm not certified in regular massage and don't want to be.
Right.
So
Thai body better work. Than a massage.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, just because
for those that are listening at any point in this conversation, you click on her name, go to her Body by Thai and look at the videos. She had a really good internet or two. Look at all the videos and stuff that she does. If you want something different than just like there's no shame in the massage. The massage is good, but this isn't a lubed up situation. This is you. To me, I've described it to people that have never had anything like it. It's almost like you just to stay limp and you stretch, you pull,
manipulating the body.
It's unbelievable. And you find I could go on and on. Just if you're dealing with something, you want something different or know something. You're like the one. Now, you also do, is it combo?
Combo, yes.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let's.
Because I think it's still really foreign.
You see me light up.
I know you're like dun, dun, dun.
Combo is my new yoga.
Okay, so for those that don't know, because I'm a little bit novice to it, but it is an extract from a frog. Take it away.
Yes, from the Amazon. It's a giant waxy tree frog. They're like this big. I went last January to meet the frog. It was unbelievable, like going into the jungle.
Where did you go, Peru?
In Peru, yeah. I mean, we took a plane in, we took a small plane, we took a bus, we took a boat down the Amazon River. Unbelievable, like blown away. And
you met the frog.
I did. I met the frog, which was unbelievable too. I had a really bad relationship with this frog when I first got introduced to doing combo. I was just like, this stuff is crazy. Not there.
Oh, here you had started.
Yeah, before a few years back. I think it's been maybe 5 years now that I've been 5 or 6 that I've been working.
And every time you had experienced Mr. Frog, you had bad ones?
In the whole beginning, it was so hard for me. And I just was like, I'll never do this. I'm never doing this. And I was with a guy at the time that was kind of into all of that. Okay. And so I was just getting thrown into it. And it wasn't really until, I loved it. what I loved most is that I knew the space that I was holding was safe. And I was just like, the space that's being held is so unsafe. And we'll talk about that. That's a whole underground thing in my book and all of that. But I'm just watching this and like, I don't really like resonate with this whole combo thing. And I think it's because of the ancient medicine and the Christianity still in the way that all of this stuff is evil, and the shamanism and all that. And, you know, I was still struggling, like coming out and then going in and seeing what it all was for real. And I just remember sitting there watching the people serving this medicine going, this is so not good. The space that's being held is so not good. This isn't authentic. This isn't in integrity. There are things happening here that are wrong. So I was like, since I'm here, I'm going to take over, because I know that the space that I'm going to hold is safe, especially for the women, because you know me and my women, like,
protect all.
I will protect. And so I started serving, and I learned it all, and I served it. And as I began to serve it, I created a relationship with it. And it's like, okay, I see this now for what it is. And the medicine itself is unbelievable.
How do you inject it? For those, I'm just asking novice questions.
You put some burns on the skin, and then it goes on. It's like a
like a salve.
Yeah, you have to get it a little pasty, and then you put it on the skin, and it goes into the system. It goes in through the lymphatic system, goes through the blood barrier of the brain, which is very unique, and then goes into all of the organs in the body. And I'm saying this as simply as possible so people can understand it and not get too scared of it. Squeezes out all the toxins, dumps it into your stomach, you purge it out, and it's just unbelievable.
Life altering.
Yeah. I say all the time, combo, it changes your mind, because it does. To me, it disconnects things that are connected that shouldn't be, reconnects things that need to be connected. And it just.
Now, this is something that you're help facilitating those that are interested in doing it. Are you still actively doing that right now? Amazing.
Yes. Yep. I don't really advertise it much. I don't need to.
Right. Well, they're so intimate groups. You don't want.
So intimate.
Right.
Yeah, but I mean, people call it many different elements that they're suffering with and struggling with. The biggest thing that I've seen it help is depression, anxiety, people that are just struggling with the mindset where it just won't change, and they're stuck in the loop of the revolving door, no energy. And I don't know what it is, but I mean, I know what it is, but it just wakes you up. It wakes you up, and it lets you see what's for real. Playing
devil's advocate, why would someone say don't do it? For educating some people that I don't know that much about it. So like, what would be like, what can you hear pessimists saying, like, oh, it's bad for your toenails, or like what?
Well, you can die with that. Okay. You can die walking across the street.
Right.
You can die with the amount of alcohol that you drink.
Has there been is there like one death for every time you do it? I mean, is it
no,
okay.
I mean, it's very rare in between. And it's mostly because either there's too much water intake, or somebody's body is way too toxic and the practitioner is giving them way too much, or it's mainly the practitioner.
Yeah.
I hate to say it.
But you never experienced anything like that.
No, but I don't have an ego in it. So I keep it very simple. I never give more than 3 or 4 dots ever.
Right.
I don't find it necessary. Maybe other people do. And if you do, then you know more of what you're doing than I do, but I don't find that necessary.
So is that
3 dots is a lot.
That dialogue is something in that type of practice. Dots are kind of like how you would equate.
Yeah, we call them gates, and it's just how many burns that you put on the skin.
So if someone's doing it for the first time, what's some counsel if they're not around here or so? How would you give some counsel to someone interested in doing this? Where not to go, what to do it alone, do it here. Like, what are some?
My biggest counsel is be very careful who you allow to serve you.
Okay.
Like, I'm going to say that again.
Is there some telltale signs?
Be careful who you allow to serve you.
I mean,
even if there's one red flag, don't do it. Wow. In my opinion. And I'm writing an entire book on this right now. It's dangerous. It's dangerous who you allow in your space that intimately, energetically, and the amount of ego that is forward in the amount of self-proclaimed shamans that have stepped up to the plate. I'm going to serve some combo. I'm going to throw ayahuasca in people's stomachs in the backyard. Like, what are you doing?
Right.
What are you doing and why are you doing it? And that's, people should really be asking those questions. What are you doing and why are you doing it?
So would it be safe to say, like, what the person that's practicing it with them is just as important as the actual like substance?
Medicine. Well, yeah, both. I mean, yes, you have to know where your medicine comes from as well, because if they're not collecting the medicine the correct way, they're hurting the frog. That medicine is no longer medicine, it's poison.
Interesting.
And you don't know where you're getting it. People are just getting it off of Amazon, literally Amazon.com, and saying, oh, I've got my medicine from the Amazon. Are you kidding me right now? What are you doing?
What would, like, This is something though you got to probably put a little bit of homework into. You probably don't want to like this isn't like getting your teeth cleaned.
Any indigenous medicine or any kind of medicine in that field, you have to do your background work.
Right.
You look at the shaman. Is it really a shaman? You know, honestly, and I'm not trying to say I know anything at all, because I know nothing. This is from my experience.
Right.
Like a true shaman, I mean, it's generation, his great grandfather. They're spending dietas in the rainforest for months on end.
Is that the experience you got when you were in Peru? You got the real.
Well, I got to meet a lot of the real situations. Wow. And this is just also by just sitting back and watching and observing what's happening. And a lot of this stuff is just very sick.
So when you met the frog, was that when you started having better experience? Like when you were in Peru and you had is there a name for it? Because I'm sure trip is not I'm sure it's derogatory to say that it was a trip. So like, how would someone say, how would you say this amongst your own tribe? Like, oh, we had a experience, or we went on how would you? I
guess it would be a retreat that I went on, because it was at a retreat center.
But you had a good experience.
I had a great experience on the combo end of everything. I had an amazing experience. Just meeting the frog and then meeting the villagers and waking up every morning and serving combo to the villagers and the people in that area. It's unbelievable. I mean, children, the elderly, all of it. And we come here and we're so like afraid of everything. And I get it. You don't know there's going to be fear behind it.
Don't subtract anything.
Not exactly. And just to see them and the lack of fear that they have, because they have trust. And it's really beautiful. And they're working with this medicine because it's been in their land for centuries upon centuries. And now we're bringing it here.
Right.
And, people around here just always have to take things where they shouldn't have been taken.
It's the Coca-Cola effect, girl.
I know,
you gotta consumerize it.
It's
now,
crazy.
What's the average when you're on it? I've heard the experience can last up to 20 to 30 to it. Like what's
So I only leave it on for 20 minutes unless I see someone really working well with it. And I mean, they're, water and purge, and they're just still doing an amazing job at 20 minutes. I'll just leave it and let them do their thing. They're doing great. But if people are like still struggling, like hardcore, and I around 20 minutes take it off. I'm starting to.
So the longer you leave it on, it continues to.
Well, it will just stop when it's finished.
Okay.
So
interesting.
Yeah, when we were in Peru, we did it every day, and it was great. And you just put it on, and that's it. You wait until it's done.
Do you start to build somewhat of an immunity to it if you do it every day? Like your tolerance builds up, or is it just
I think so? It's like anything else. Yeah.
Wow. Incredible.
Maybe it's not as difficult. When I was really doing it, 3 sessions once a month. I haven't done it for a few months now. Like it was just easier.
Right.
But it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's a very difficult.
You gave me wonderful counsel on it. I'm not ready yet.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
that's totally okay.
And that's one thing that I would say. I know nothing about this, but I'm sure for those that are interested in it, whoever is talking to you about it and seems to be forceful about it, you were not at all forceful. You were
why?
very
Why would I
no,
be? I don't care if you do it or you don't do
right.
it. But if you're coming to me asking for help, I'm telling you this is going to help you. And that's how I am with any kind of the work.
You were the big, quick tangent on how much you enlightened me. I was always apprehensive to do anything. To this day, I've drank and I've smoked marijuana. I've never done anything else. And I'm not saying that for bragging rights. It's just I've always been pretty leave it to beaver and simple. And I'm scared of a lot of other things, but stuff that is grown from the earth, I do have a fascination and an interest in. So there was no coincidence that when you were rendering your care for me, you had said, look, I think you should look into some microdosing of mushrooms. I remember being like, what? And I knew it was appropriate and it was well received because it wasn't under the context of like, go get fucked up on mushrooms. Right. Now I had heard about this from some podcasts and things of that nature. And I remember hearing that there was a lot of benefits. Long story short, you helped me through that. And it was amazing. And it was part of now I'll never attribute any one thing or any someone about like, because of that, I made it, but you were a massive ingredient to the recipe of my health. And by using that to your benefit and knowledge base was beautiful. And I appreciate you for that. That was huge. I haven't been microdosing since. I probably did it like for a week or two and I never experienced the trippy factor, but I remember feeling this, I don't know. I almost like felt myself healing. I felt like I was in a hug, like a warm hug, but just like anything else, I remember always trying to get my head right before I did. I didn't use it for recreational purposes. I didn't go out on it. And I respected it. I was very like,
and you used it in the correct form.
Yeah, I was
And
really.
when you do that, it's a tool that really does help heal you.
It's amazing. So I can only imagine the breakthrough. I'm not ready yet because I'm just being a baby, but I'm so fascinated by when I helped you put that together, that literature and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, you sent it to me and I'm putting it up there. I was skimming it and I'm like, wow, this is so fascinating.
Just the peptides in it is like, if you read about it and you look at all the peptides that you're going to flood your body with, it's like,
it's fascinating.
This is God's medicine. You're okay with putting all these pharmaceuticals in that are mixed with a bunch of shit that man made. Who knows what's in it? And then causing all of this. You're going to have to take this for that and counter that with that. Why wouldn't you? It's so funny to me. How are you so afraid of something that is one element from the earth or from God? How are you so fearful of that one element? But yet you're not fearful of this. Is the conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
And the work that I do now is all about unconditioning. It's about taking that ball of yarn that is in this insane amount of knots, and I'm just going to unknot you little by little, just one at a time. I can unknot you.
Having you worked on me and you talking about it, not that I always like making pretend I don't believe for the people that may be listening. Like, there's no way. I'm like, it's so true. You have such a wonderful way about working on a human being. You really do. It's so powerful. And you have this capability of like, every time you would work on me and you would leave, I'd be like, she knows everything about me in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, it was like without me speaking though, the majority of the time, I was like, you just find in a good way. You really get intimate with a human being's body and knowing what's going on. And I've realized the metaphysical, mental aspect of your mind, everything. Mm-hmm. I remember the first few weeks, and for those that have been injured or in injuries or dealing with something chronic, my heart goes out to you, and I sound like such a baby because it's like, this guy had one injury.
Injury affected what you love.
Oh my God, yeah. But I remember that. I'm not going to sit here and say that I had contemplated no, but I remember talk about my identity. But those weeks and in the months, irregardless of the pain, I remember I must have been told by, I only sought like less than 5 people's real love and counsel, like not only medically, but verbally. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to hear everything's going to be okay. I didn't want to hear it's not going to be okay. I just wanted to do me. But one of the things that was unique was those that I confided in were like, get a hold of your fucking mind. And the ones that I confided in were so intelligent in it, you being one of them, that taught me that your mind literally dictated your direction. Yeah. And it sounds so stupid, and it sounds so like, okay, and what's for breakfast? Yeah. Like we slow down and really listen to that. Like it's helped me realize that it literally directed. I've been saying it a lot, and I stole it from Bruce Lee, and it didn't even make sense when I first read it, but then I slowed it down. And I'm not one to believe in like hooky spooky spells, but Bruce Lee said the reason why they call it spelling is what you say. You literally will get what you say. Like, so I remember starting to say to myself, I'm going to be healed. Yeah. I'm going to get better. I'm going to be strong. I'm going to be sexy. I'm going to come back stronger. I'm going to be like that movie when the guy broke his arm and he could throw the ball faster. I'm coming back. And it did happen.
That's the secret of the universe.
Isn't it crazy?
It's crazy because it's so simple and you hear it all the time. But when you actually apply it and you really, truly embody it, everything in your world changes completely. Yeah. Everything. And
I've noticed too that, like, I'm not going to get into depth with it, but for those that know me personally, I'm going through something right now that I haven't shared with anybody, and I'm not going to share. But the dynamic is this: it could be rather debilitating to anybody else, including me. What I'm hearing going on in a situation that's very intimate with me right now, I've been given some really unique news. So my point is, I'm not going to let it be my fucking narrative. And I'm also not going to sit here and say the whole Gandhi effect that like, I'm just going to say it and then I don't do anything, or I don't practice it, or I'm not aware of. I know that people that may be listening to this at any point in their journey may be in it right now. And maybe there is no future. Maybe there is no good report. Maybe there is no hope. But you know what? What is life? Right? So like, I've tried to slow down and I go, where did we read that we were supposed to be here forever? And where did we read that we aren't fragile and this thing called mortality is so real? So I'm trying to embrace more and more the subtraction. the fucking subtraction. Like, it's so real. Like, we're literally, it hits us from a celebrity narrative. Betty White dies and we're all like, wow. And she was one of the chosen ones. Thank God she didn't get cancel cultured, right? But most likely in the next 100 years, someone will find out something that she said and she'll be like she'll be canceled in the midst of death. Right. But she made it out alive, or she made it to death with being admired and glorified and honored, but she's still dead. And in the next 100 to 200 years, no one's going to remember her. And no one's going to remember me. No one's going to remember.
That's what people, I think, forget completely.
Is that funny?
Yeah, it's mind-blowing, though, because it's true. And people completely forget that fact that, like, oh, I'm suffering, I'm going through this and that. And it's like, yeah, we're supposed to, though. We're supposed to experience it all. Like, if you can understand and comprehend that your suffering is something that is happening for you, not to you, and you're able to experience this because it's a fucking gift. The minute you can truly embody that, embrace that, and believe that, your life is going to go so much easier. It's going to be so much more joyful even in the suffering, because you can have joy in your suffering. Suffering is just another thing that we feel. And the difference between suffering and love is nothing. It's the same fucking feeling. If you really pull it all apart, it's the same feeling. Because I have suffered greatly and deeply as I can possibly imagine. I couldn't imagine anything happening more to me than has already happened for me to suffer. Knock on wood, please, God. I don't want it. I'm not interested. I'm doing my work. But I sat down one day and there's a chapter in my book that I actually write about this. And I really thought about it hard. And I was like, the feeling between the two is not different. It's not different. The emotion and the mind allows it to be different. But if you really pull it apart and you feel it, it's the same thing.
I love that you're saying this, because this is going to be a crowd favorite, but it's not what I do the show for anyways. I grew up with being told, don't say you love someone, because real true love is to lay your life down for somebody else. Love never envies, never boasts, etc., etc. And I'm obviously extracting that from the Bible, but I do believe in a lot of the Bible, if not all of it. Even though the Old Testament can be weird, I do believe that the value of the Bible is there. It's been written. It's still the #1 selling book in the world for a reason. And I think love is really those characteristics. But what I didn't like growing up was I also was told not to use it in this nature, maybe like, oh, I love you in this. Well, I broke that mold, and I say I tell everyone that I love them, because I really do want the best for them. But here's one thing that I've noticed, that those that know me more than just an acquaintance level, there's this threshold that I then cross and say, I don't want to love you, because love is not really fun, and love isn't cool, and love isn't pretty, and love isn't hearts and roses. Love means that when you die, it's going to affect me negatively. And I know that sounds extremely selfish and self-centered, but that's exactly what this is all is that by consequence of you being in my life, or I don't know the concept. To me, the only people that are allowed to want and need and exercise both of those in congruency are mothers and fathers. I think offspring are the only people that are allowed to do that. For instance, I do that to my parents. I'm allowed to want them and need them. That's when it comes to companionship and like friendships and whether it's employment, whether it's that, once you need it and want it, it's fucking corrupt, because then all of a sudden it's like, why are you not here tomorrow at noon? Like, for instance, if you didn't, that
happened all the time in almost every relationship. It's like
all the time.
That's not actually love.
Right. But I speak ignorantly towards having offspring, and I can't imagine that intimacy of having like you literally would lay your life down without even being recognized. Your son would just wake up tomorrow because there was somebody came to you and said either die or he dies. You would just go, I'm in. And He doesn't even know you would do that. Yeah. That's something that can't be spoken of. That's what separates us from any other creature pretty much, is this, like, why would you do that? Self-preservation is key. Most animals still in the animal kingdom abandon their young in the midst of dismay. They don't. Some maybe, but most go. Point is, I'm proud of you in a good way. I'm a peer of yours. I'm not saying this like you've experienced, like you've made it. I've learned so much from you. I learned so much from your vulnerability and your strength that you've been able to continue to exercise. And I know I say this a lot, but what Chief Downey taught me here locally about, like, you're only as good as your last 24, like, it doesn't stop. Yeah. Like, how you've taken care of yourself, how you continue to persevere, and no one's got it any worse and no one's got it any better. It's just that's their moment. And I'm proud of you. It's really hard. And I don't know what you've been through, but I know it's been a lot, and I'm proud of you. I can taste it 100 million miles away. You're an amazing human being.
Thank you.
Golly. And where are you at? I asked you this when you first walked in, but for the sake of just us, not even the show, where are you at season-wise right now? Are you in a good, what do you feel? Are you coming in, going out of, or in the midst of the storm? Like, where are you at?
I feel like I'm in the best place of my entire life in this moment. I really do.
That's awesome.
I don't know. It's something in the last year or so just clicked with me. And I love myself completely. Everything that I've been through, I see what it's for. I know my purpose. I know I am here, and I'm just happy. I'm a happy person. I can't help it anyway. I'm just happy.
I'm excited for you to be around. I think you recharge appropriately by being around other humans too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, before I forget too, your retreats that you do.
Yeah.
Can we talk about those?
Yeah, let's do that. My favorite.
You've done a few of them. You got some on the horizon. I know some people that did them.
Yeah.
And let's talk about some of those, because do they always carry the same principle of like what? Tell me about them.
So the reason that I started them, actually, these are, I either will do an overnight. Now I'm starting to do just day journeys.
Okay.
And I don't want to call it a journey. They're just like a day thing with the women, because there's a lot of like moms and stuff that can't do overnights, and it's hard for them. But I figured out a way to condense it into however many hours. But it's kind of like the reason I opened up my yoga studio, to give people a safe place to be exactly who they are with no judgment. And when you can really feel that, when you can be in an environment and be afraid to show up because there's going to be 10 to 12 other girls there. And you know how that happens when you get girls in a room. Yeah. And this one I already know of in the community that doesn't like me, and that one. And I have found a way to kind of bring them all together, even if they're like that in the community. And by the end of the night, every single one of them are holding each other crying.
I've seen photos.
Yeah. There's just nothing but pure love. And
tell me who should be like, who's your, and I never like this word, because this isn't about like, who's your perfect customer, but what's someone that you're like, I want them to come, like who, like what's
people that are stuck in relationships that are abusive. People that have been affected by narcissism. The people that have self-hatred issues. The people that look at themselves in the mirror and don't think they're beautiful. The women who don't think that they're enough. The women who aren't doing anything at all because they don't know what it is that they should be doing. Those are the type of women that I want in my space. Because there's just something about the pain that I have suffered that wakes me up to want to wake them up. And I can do that. Yeah.
I love you.
Yes. So I'm very passionate about the women's stuff. So
you have these, and I know all the locations are always, you kind of tailor it to depending on the season and this. What's some on the horizon that people would be able to take advantage of? Like, what do you got?
So actually, it's funny you say that. Next weekend, I'm flying out to see Lois, and we're going to sit down and put together 3 retreats. Oh. So I'm going to do one in Montana, one in Georgia, and then one around this area. Okay. And it'll be like a 4 to 5 day retreat. And we're going to go deep into everything all of the tools that I have picked up along the way that have helped me survive and to stay in my love.
Now, will these all be in 2022?
Yes.
Ooh, baby.
Yeah. We're going to put them together, and then I'm just throwing them out there.
So these ones that you're cultivating will be the bring a pillow. These are the real, these are real deals.
These will be like maybe 3-4 nights, like solid. I'm implementing, and some of it's not going to be easy for people to really sit down and look at themselves, but it's all done playfully because I'm so playful. And of course I use different medicine as well. You know, there's certain things that I do use, and I always offer combo at all of my retreats at the end, and people can experience getting a tiny bit into that scene and safely.
I've had dialogue with a couple of your friends that have done this, and they all hate you. No, they
perfect.
Surprise. This is an intervention. No, they are all like, got to do it again in a good way.
Yeah.
You have, once again, it goes back to my original statement, and I know you can hear my heart, because it's more than just the fact that you're beautiful. People, you're followed, and you're using it for the better of mankind, which is noble.
Yeah, you know? I have to. I don't know any other way.
You know?
And I think I'm really, honestly, I sat there and thought about, like, I get a lot of people, oh, when I'm in your space, I just feel this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And they usually kind of say the same thing. Like, I don't know what it is about you. And I just feel like I want to open up to you and pour everything out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've sat with that, like without the ego, putting it down, being like, what really is that, so that I can amplify it more? Because when I die, I really want to make a dent here. I just do. It's a passion of mine. I don't know why, but as many people as I can get to wake up and be their most authentic, happy self, that's what I want. And I was like, why is that? And honestly, it's only because I lead it, because I am free.
Well, you're practicing.
Because I practice it every day.
Do you know by consequence of what we're even drinking is because of you?
Nice.
Seriously. When I ask anything, for those that I see counseling and they're like, all right, don't use that, use this, I don't question it. That's why I seek the advice. And I know this is such an oxymoron of like healthier way, but I remember you teaching me like, hey, look, if you're going to misbehave, try to, fancy this. It's going to be, and I remember going, oh,
because it's medicinal. There's medicinal properties.
And since then, which has been years now, I've practiced it. Now, I want you to know about your dent comment about like, you changed my life.
Thank you.
And when you're literally less than a handful of people that I know that I've confided in, that when I do, I know that you are exercising one of my favorite things that I come up with through my own pain, and that is loving people alone. You're politely not paying attention in a good way. Oh, shit. No. I'm going to use that against you. You know what I mean? You're not, there's this sense of you hear me, but you're not listening in a good way. There's this like, you're not, I could say to you like, yeah, I pooped on the floor yesterday, and you're not looking where it was. Right. It's beautiful. Yeah. Like you don't care, which is beautiful, because a lot of people are more curious to be like, that motherfucker pooped on the floor. I'm going to tell, and I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, and it smells like shit in here anyways. I don't want to be here. You have this way of going, I know. I know. Me too.
Yeah. Because I've shit on the floor before.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And that's not normal. I think that's probably one of the many things that go into your ingredients of being amazing, is that's why people feel so comfortable around you, is that, and it's got to be unique too, because I say this out of pure sincerity, because you're so attractive, you have to filter that much more. Meaning, you know what I mean? Like, because there's so much coming at you accumulatively.
I've learned discernment very well.
It's got to be unique. 2
years of my life.
You know, like it's not like, for instance, for every time someone's at your door, it may not be someone sincere. Right. And it's not always someone sincere. And it's harder for, and I say this not to be chivalrous or to try to woo a woman, but like, it is absolutely more unique to be a beautiful woman in the world than it is to be a dude, period. I don't give a shit.
Unfortunately, it's a little easier. I feel a little bad about that, but it's a little bit
easier, but also because if you can navigate it well.
If you're navigating it.
Right. Come on. Think about it. The seas are more tumultuous, in my opinion, as a woman. And once again, this isn't there's probably dudes out there that at some point will hear this of like, no, it's not. Well, look, man, I'm not trying to win you over or the women demographic over, because it's just a fact. It's just a true fact. I think that women evolve a little bit more intellectually and faster as a man. And there's to me, one of the most fascinating things to this day is women getting on the same cycle by consequence of hanging out with themselves. Yeah. Explain that, pyramid makers. Yeah. How the fuck are these women getting on the same cycle just by consequence of hanging out with each other? Right. Like, that is the most, I could talk about that for the rest of my life.
And that's also why, most of the world and the leaders of the world want to suppress the woman.
I agree.
Because of the power that's behind it.
I've said this a few times, but I had a guy on the show once, and he also wasn't trying to be Mr. Chivalrous and like, women's rights and this. It was just more of, he believes that over time, as women have more of a platform or more of an opportunity, more diseases will be healed more as they are able to exercise their expertise. Right. And I'm not even going off on the tangent of women being suppressed. It's more of, they're more badass. Like, once again, for you to say it's easy, it's because you've been able to hold the helm.
Right.
Right.
Which is why I do what I do to help these women, for it to become easy for them, so that they can stand up in their power. And then when that happens, there's less narcissistic men causing abuse. I mean, the list will go on and on. We'll just stay there.
What is your opinion and hypothesis on being a woman? And I can have my outlook from an aerial view, but I don't know what it's like. What would you say in this era for our demographic, our age group? What does the average woman feel right now? Do they feel this? What you're saying is, you see, there's more people that feel what you are, or is there my point?
No, there's so many women still stuck in relationships that are abusive, and or stuck in a situation that they're not happy in, or not speaking their truth, or not having a fear of what people think of them, how they look. Like, I was just speaking with somebody maybe a day ago, and it was all about how they look, and they were just being very honest, like, how I look is important to me. And it's like, oh man, because how you look is not what's important, though. But technically, when you walk out the front door, in a way it is, and I try to tell them it's not really so much how you look, it's how you carry yourself.
Right. And
if how you look helps you to carry yourself in a stronger manner, then great, then keep doing that. But
it's fascinating to be here. We are at we're not teenagers anymore, and it is interesting to be doing this for the first time and seeing that amongst my immediate peer group of even men and women, that we are all, and I'm guilty as one, that we want to hold on to that sake of vanity and that sake of sexy, and it's crazier as always. I feel like the younger generation is always sexier than the next one. Yeah. It's like, how the hell? But of course, filters are helping, and it's interesting that I would imagine. See, you're hearing it. Women will never be more candid with another than with another woman, that I know. And even though I'm super blessed and privileged to hear a lot, I don't get the real good, the grit. And it's interesting that it seems to be amongst it's more now in our era, I think, than ever, because there's so much beauty to be seen so fast, so easy.
But is it beauty though that people are
seeing,
or is it what society has taught them to see as beauty?
You're right.
Because society is teaching us to see as beauty that those eyebrows and those big eyelashes are beautiful, but if you went 100 years ago and looked at that, everyone would be like, that is hideous.
Alien
no
stuff.
Offense to anybody that does
I know
it's beautiful. I'm not saying
it's well received.
What I'm saying is what society
culturally
is
accepted.
Us. So if we can find a way to take all of those layers off of us so that we can start really seeing things for what they are, then we wouldn't need to spend all of that time doing that to ourselves.
Right.
And if you do that, that's beautiful. I love it. A great friend of mine, she is from head to toe decked out from New York all the time. Sometimes when I'm about to go out with her and I'm all hippied out because, I hardly wear makeup, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm going out with Christina. Okay, I got to pull myself together here. So I do it too.
Right.
She's gorgeous. But I also feel that I'm just as gorgeous with no makeup and nothing on.
But I think what you're saying inadvertently, for those that are listening, and what you offer, is that finding security in both.
Yes, exactly.
That's all.
Exactly.
That's what I'm feeling.
And it all comes from right here.
And even when I speak about, not having a lot of materialistic things, there's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure it doesn't own you. So same thing when soccer was taken from me, even though that's not outside appearance wise, it was my identity. And I was so embarrassed. I didn't want to tell anybody I was hurt. It was more like because back then, traveling was still a lot easier. So I would traveling. It wasn't uncommon for me to kind of disappear for a couple months at a time, or cumulatively. And it was like, oh, I didn't want people to know. I was embarrassed. Even though it wasn't my fault, I can admit that I was really like, Chenzo doesn't get hurt.
Right.
And I did. And I am.
And remember when I was talking to you, I'm like, this happened for you to learn something in it. And this is what you needed to learn.
Look what you made.
Yeah, I didn't make you. You made yourself.
You made it.
I just helped you to remember what you are.
It's all those mushrooms.
It is the mushrooms.
But it's you made me, you and a few people and my God made me okay with not having that.
Yeah.
It's subtracted. And I've had my home taken from me. I've had every bit of security that a man would look for taken from me and purposely removed throughout my lifetime. I never had. I know, for those that don't understand it, but my life, my passion, my whole, my being taken from me. And I remember dealing with a lot of, I had a few bit of noise from people that I wasn't mad at, but I just wanted to, I was like, what? That were like, this is a sign from God that you're not supposed to be. So look, my whole thing would be very careful about the noise, people. It's so potent. And I say this a lot, and not that one music is better than the other, but you can't hear classical music over death metal. And both are great. Both are technically very hard to play. Both are just as gorgeous. but you can't hear both simultaneously. Different notes, different rhythms. You got to choose one. And I think we're not programmed that way. We're not programmed to listen to one song or one genre.
Unprogram ourselves.
Yeah, it's hard though.
Unprogram. And isn't it funny that the one very most deepest thing that you are attached to, it will be taken from you.
It will.
It absolutely will.
That's scary.
So if you can find a way to see it and say it's okay if I don't have this, and if I don't have this, I still am as amazing. You'll be golden.
It's
but you keep that attachment, man.
It's that old romance story. There's something to be said, and it's rather romantic to think that when your companion dies, you die very shortly thereafter. Is that powerful?
Yeah, that's
some may find relief in that, and some may find romance in it. Yeah. But some may say, well, what if you have a lot more life to live?
And maybe you do, but
and it's powerful
that the attachment, which it's beautiful.
Those and it's not just companionship thing, but that when you don't have purpose.
You know, the biggest thing that was ever taken from me was love, and the biggest thing I learned from it is to love myself. And that was the best lesson I've ever had.
Can we talk about when love? That's a big statement. I've never heard anyone even say something like that.
Yeah, my whole book is on it, so y'all can just read it.
You got to read the book.
It's so funny because I don't talk too much about all of that because I want people to like. There'll be bits and pieces of it.
Well, can you give me an era?
Yeah,
like was it last weekend that you had your paradigm shift of thought?
No,
like love?
I mean about like 2 years ago.
Wow.
About 2 years ago.
Still, well, in adulting years, that's 2 weeks ago.
That was like a day ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So this is why it's so potent. And by the way, this wasn't the first time that I had asked the beautiful Christy to do the show. Because I've been doing, I think, like 3 or 4 years or something. I don't even know. But I remember the first time I had asked you, like, nope, not ready. And I remember
because I had a lot of secrets and a lot of shame and guilt and a lot of things that if you talked about it, I couldn't lie about it because I knew people were listening, and I'm just not there anymore. Like I will say.
I remember when you actually told me you were ready too, because it was I always still picked on you in a good way. I was like, shut up, and you're like, And then finally one day, like, I'm ready for this show. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. And that it was right at that time something just snapped inside of me, and I was like, wow, thank you for that.
Does the security and the let's just call it the revolution that you had, is it something that's slippery to hold on to too? Like that peace, that clear, you know what I mean? Like every day you wake up, does it still require a cognitive capability of going, I got to hold on to this because it's fleeting?
Yeah.
Powerful.
Yeah. It's like that, like when you wake up and you remember your dream, like the second you open your eyes, you remember the whole thing. But then as like a minute goes by, you start to forget it. And then you're trying to remember it again.
Yes.
That's it every day.
I love when you smack me with it hits. I write my dreams down.
Yeah. Yep.
I just had one quick dream tangent. I just had my buddy who passed away about 10 years ago, rest in peace, Matthew Robinson. He comes, I don't want to get into, I don't think it's like him coming to my dreams and all that. I'm not saying that's not true, but I just think it's my cognitive subconscious going to REM and blah, blah, blah. But the dynamic is they're always a wee bit lucid. Yeah. And I had one the other day and he was in it. And it's funny because it's not as lucid as I would want it to be, where I can like just completely control the environment, like Inception, like Ferrari,
right?
Naked women everywhere. You know what I mean? Like I can't do that, but I know in my dream that he's not supposed to be there. And there's always this like, what are you doing here? And the setting is always now. We're not younger. We're not this. So it's like the setting's always like, how are you? And he doesn't ever want me to address it. He's always like, come on, we got shit to do. But I woke up from this one and I immediately wrote it down. And this one was more fragmented than most. This one was really, but it goes into what you're saying that you gotta like, have you ever written your dreams down?
I don't think so.
Are you a dreamer?
Yeah.
Some people aren't. Which
I'm a dreamer. I haven't written them down
though. Do you have any kind of reoccurring dream? Like have you ever?
Yeah.
Can we talk about?
Yeah.
What are you doing? What is it?
I have this reoccurring dream since I was a child of me being on the top of a church steeple. Is it the very, very top, holding on, and these huge ass waves are coming. I have had that dream. I can't even tell you how many.
Like times. A tsunami?
Like a tsunami coming right at me.
Are there people around?
Nope. It's just me at the top of a church holding on to the fucking cross and staring at this wave, and it's coming.
Are you facing it or is it behind you?
I'm facing it.
Girl.
It's so crazy, right? Like I'm talking years since I was a teenager. Then I had this crazy dream of this one little road and it started to overflood when I was driving it. I've had that dream for about 3 years before I moved here. And then that road is in Ormond.
Yes. Flutterland.
Crazy, right?
So water.
Water.
See, I don't get into. I've had some people that I confide in. They're like, let's find the purpose, and I'm sure there's value to that, and I'm not knocking that, but I don't want to get into like why were Matt and I reading a book that had music in it.
Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, it was like you ever seen those like things you open and they play music?
Yeah,
it was a book and it played music, and we just were enthralled by it. But I'm not going to get into the nuances of like, and that meant that I have to be a musician. You know, like I don't know. And I'm not knocking
really mean
that.
Anything,
I know.
I
don't get
an
in.
experience you get to have in.
But there may be something to be said with I used to have the worst dream ever. And anyone who has these, I want to give you a hug. My teeth would fall out. That I finally didn't see.
Somebody just told me what that meant.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Means that you're worried about money.
Oh.
So when I was, but when you're set from like, I was adolescences to probably 25-ish, wow. I would have, and thank God it wasn't every night, but more than I wanted, I'd have these, and the setting was always different. Long story short, just teeth falling out. And I don't know if you there's only one feeling to a tooth falling out. Yeah. Yeah. So that feeling, which everyone could literally was like, ugh! And mine would be like grittily like disintegrating, not like tooth out. And even to this day, if I see a movie that has like a tooth coming out or people like fuck with the teeth,
you're like, I can't watch it.
I literally go, remember. I don't even want to hear the noise. Then I finally, after the umpteenth one, I remember finally being like, doing this. So mine's going to be like, you're going to die in 2 minutes. So I'm like, look it up. And it's like, psychologically, I was always worried about money. From like, I was, especially when I went independent, like 10-ish plus years ago, if not longer. I keep saying that it's been that I didn't have a paycheck. Oh my God. I didn't know that was a correlation, that I was like worried.
Well, yeah.
And now because I always want to be bigger, stronger, faster, etc., I haven't had one of those in forever, probably since I was like, and of course I couldn't do anything. I just remember like, this is horrible. I'm stronger than this. Like, stop letting the money own you. But the water thing, maybe that's like water.
Well, I am the water bear, Aquarius, so I don't know. But then I don't know. You know, the last few years, I've just been looking into all the spiritual stuff, and all the deceit underneath it is unbelievable.
Have you dealt with a lot of deceit?
Oh my God, it's constant. It's consistent deceit in the spiritual world. And then you have those girls, and I'm not knocking any of you guys, and I'm so sorry if anyone takes this personally. There's no one person I'm speaking about. But you sit in a circle, and everyone's like, and I'm like, really though? Do you really do that though? And then they're like, sister. And I'm like, really though? Is that really how you talk about when you shut the doors down and you're with yourself and your dog and you're like, what the fuck, bro? You know, we're talking to God. Like, do you really talk like that?
Sister, I haven't even heard that.
Sister. Like, are you picking up the spiritual vomit and getting further away from who you are by picking up the spiritual vomit because you want to be a part of spiritualism?
Are you correlating this with like when someone's having like, I need to talk, I have something to tell you, sister,
just why
you're affecting me negatively in the following ways, etc. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, well, yeah. When people do that to me, I have to be like,
you put your invisible dukes up.
I have to. Because you guys, that's not really who you are. I know that's not really who you are. It's called spiritual vomit, and you picked up a language because you want to be a part of something.
This is actually what it's called?
And it's just another matrix. That's all that you're doing here. With the spiritual world, you're putting yourself, trying to act like you're getting out of the matrix, but you're placing yourself into a whole nother matrix. This matrix is dangerous.
Okay, we're tapping into something.
It's dangerous.
So you once again, without going into the specifics, you've dealt with, it seems to be a high inundation of deceit amongst your tribe.
So bad. It's awful. It's actually worse than Christianity. There was some in the yoga world, like each little world I've tapped into, the spiritual one, that's why I quote it like this, is the worst. It's all the self-proclaimed shamans coming forward and trying to act like they're these healers, and then saying that the women who have been raped, that they need tantra healing to help them heal. So you need to put your dick in me to help me heal from my rape. But they're so good with their words that they literally created in such a song and dance that it sounds amazing with the word wizardry. And the women are just seeking for anything to help them heal and feel part of something, that they fall for it. I was one of them.
Here we go.
I was one of them.
So are you saying that there seems to be, and this once again, for those that may have heard of this or know this, I'm pretty novice about this type of self-healing, seeking. So you're saying that you have dealt with somebody that was using that, falsify or use this. That's horrible.
More than one. Are you kidding? When I was in Peru, coming out of ayahuasca, the leaders are trying to have sex with the women. When I've gone into other mushroom ceremonies and coming out of it, and these women are still like drugged up. And I'm sorry, it's drugs, okay? It just is. There's medicine aspects to it, but when you take it and you're using it for something that's not completely whole and pure, it's now a drug. So you're drugging these women to get them to.
This is some horrible shit.
It is, man.
Is this happening more and more because more people are using? It's becoming easier just to.
It's becoming
put a
easier
website
access
up
because these and not just men, women too. There are women that are, doing the exact same thing, coming out of all of these ceremonies and sleeping with all of the men. And I guess this has been happening for centuries.
Right. It's just centuries. This is our life now.
This is our life now.
We're realizing.
But we should know better at this point. We just should.
Damn, girl.
That's the whole basis of my book, The Way of the Seeker. The entire book is the basis of that. Wow. Because as you know, I was raped and I went into spiritualism looking for healing for that. And then I was taken into a tantra situation and put on things.
For those that don't know me, tantra is that like a type of
tantra?
Touching,
if you
massage?
go way back into the actual script of it, it's more of an energetic breathing type connection of energy and Shakti.
Okay.
But what people have done to it now is made it into a sexual thing. And actually it's not so much a sexual thing. So they've just taken something very pure and ancient and beautiful and they've used it just like anything. This has happened centuries and centuries. They turn it into something that's becomes very evil and causes more harm than
wow.
Good.
Am I allowed to? So that happened to you?
Yes, absolutely. That's the whole base of my entire book is that, and it started with that, and whether it was meant to be that or not, if you look at it, that's how it started.
I can feel a tremendous amount of like appropriate, like the word rage would only describe it in a way of like Phoenix. It's a fuel to you. It's not a debilitating.
No,
when did it change?
Daily. What do you mean?
I would imagine
from rage to fuel.
Yeah.
Just in the last year. Really just in the last like 6 months where I've really like woken up and been like, okay.
Wow.
When I told you that moment that something snapped, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And I'm not angry anymore, but I'm going to use this to fuel me to make sure that I'm doing my part to help.
Wow.
Because, as I was very innocent coming from Christianity, never having gone into spiritualism, only knew yoga, but was starting to tap into the whole shaman world. It's so interesting. And it really is. If you're a philosopher, you like to look into history, it's super interesting.
Right.
And then when you get in it, there's a lot of magic in it and a lot of black magic and a lot of good magic. And you don't know the difference between the two, but this stuff is real and it's happening. And I was, coming into my rite of passage, just wanting to learn and heal and grow and be spiritual because that's what the cool thing to do is now, and it completely wreaked havoc. But I'm happy that it all happened because I'm able to speak about it and help a lot of women. We don't need that. We're seeking to go into spiritualism to feel like we're closer to God or ourselves or whatever you call the union of that one thing. But you're getting further away from yourself going down those rabbit holes. I have this beautiful part of my book. It says, and there I am at the top of the rabbit hole, looking down, contemplating, going in, coming out the other end, seeing myself at the top of the rabbit hole, contemplating, going in. I already had everything that I was seeking right there. And what happens is you jump into that, you're going to lose something that you're never going to get back that you already had because you're seeking it. You have to look in. And it always sounds so cliche because they say all the time, look within. Seriously, though, like I can't stress it enough, look within. Because the spiritual world is not going to do it. Ayahuasca is not going to do it. Combo, bufo, none of it is going to do it. You can get yourself as high as you want on God's drug. God can cry into your mouth. You're still not going to find it because you already have it. And there is a point that you will lose what you're looking for, and it will be the most precious thing to you. You can never get that back. And mine was my innocence. I'll never get that back. And it's okay. But it was unnecessary.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know how I got on that tangent.
No, I mean, you're kidding me.
Sorry.
It's beautiful because yet again, you're using it to help others through your story and your journey. And of course, this has been said before, but testimony, the first part of it is a test. and and I don't get into the whole, like, I don't think one bad thing comes from God. It's just called life. Like flat tires are byproduct of shit in the road, not God.
Yeah.
But we can look at it at some people, I think, can go down that rabbit hole and be like, why me in this? And trust me, it's a lot easier said for me that I have my faculties. And for those that are dealing with something that, once again, is chronic or outside circumstances, that we all know people that have been dished the worst cards, and you wonder what in the hell have they done? Not in the whole thing, but my point is, here you are, and I'm blown away and lost of words. Of I don't. It's weird because one of the most fascinating things that I find now at my age that I see is the companionship factor. We're all striving to be loved. We're all striving to feel wanted and well pursued, whether you're introvert or extrovert. It's irrelevant. Nobody wants to die alone. I don't care who cool and how great you think you are. You don't want to die alone, period. But this thing called life, when it comes to the companionship thing, is so fascinating. And I've realized that, being someone who's blessed with being well wanted and well pursued, how if I were a diabolical human man, I could be really a horrible person, because people do come to me with, like, I trust you, I believe in you, and this. And not that I'm giving it life advice, but for instance, they wouldn't ask what's in the cup. And I've noticed, right? Like, they just, you drink, I'll drink it. Right. And this sounds so ridiculous because it actually correlates to drinks being
what happens. It's true.
And here, I never thought about this because I'm ignorant towards it. I never thought about women feeling broken, women feeling irrelevant, unworthy, or because of situations, and then they seek these men or counsel, whatever, men, women, are indifferent, and they're using, and once again, this is nothing new under the sun, abuse of power. Yeah.
And a lot of these men, they have these beautiful gifts. They do.
Right. Like, there's something to be
God-given gifts that God has said that this is your gift.
Right.
Use it, go forth and use it for good. And they are not doing that because they're not willing to do the work and look at their shadow side. And I even hate to say the word because it's still spiritual. I'm trying to, like, find new words for shit. Right. Because, I'm going to pave that way and create some new shit. Because if one more person says sister to me, like, I don't know why it bothers me so much. It's total judgment. It just bothers me.
I've never even heard it before you. Sister. So it's a girl thing.
Sister. Like, I guess they're trying to say we're a star. It's cute.
I'm going to say it to my soccer buds.
Say it to Camille. See what she says.
Sister. It's so.
I'm not even making fun of anyone. I'm trying to use it.
That's my new text to you now. # sister.
Oh no, everyone knows. Dude, my phone is gonna blow up. Sister.
But I think what you don't like is when things are abused.
They're conforming.
Yeah.
These women are all conforming. These men are conforming. I can't. It drives me insane. I'm here to break the conforming. And conforming means, like, all falling into one category. Right. We're never going to fit in because we're all so different. Right. Don't want to fit in, want to fit out.
Subtract.
Perfect. I like that.
I like I like fit out. Fit out. It's funny because I say this to the younger kids that I'm so blown away with. They come to me for, like, hey man, like, give me, like, do I want to be you factor? And I go, no. And I tell them, how does Pepsi differentiate itself from Coke? Like, don't fit in. I wish I could go back. And of course, everyone's got horror stories relating to adolescences. I don't have any abuse stories and things of that nature, more than just being picked on as an average adolescent in a very simple, chill, perfect little America town. But I remember I just got told by somebody who you would never think in a million years was being picked on. The number one thing I ask every kid that I meet, and the parents know that I ask them this, and I'm sorry to be like I'm the bad uncle, where I'm literally go, who's fucking with you? And I've never once had a kid say to me, no one. They can name them faster than they can name their first crush, their first kiss. Everyone can recollect their bully. Like, boom.
And the bullying doesn't stop as a child. You get it into your adulthood.
Nope. And I tell the kids this, which I wish I would have known. Be nice to them which I never really retaliated with fire. I stuck up for myself, but I really took it. But now I tell the kids, I'm like, all of them are going to pay your mortgage. I promise.
It's true though.
And I tell the kids, it's okay to position yourself. If I could go back and knew that it was going to happen where everyone was going to owe me $5 or a hug, I wish I could like teach that in a class. Give without expecting being given back, and love because you're going to get picked on. And now some of the cliche things that these kids miss that we still sometimes miss as adults, but I try to hold on to, is that anyone that actually comes to me with some bullshit, I know that you just want to, you're mad at me, and you've formed a narrative that you think that I fucked your wife, but I haven't. So they've come up with this illusion, whether it's something they think I have or something that I've done. And it's funny, all those that have actually crossed me, it's been less than 5, thank God. That's it, only 5. There'll be more. They're on their way.
Oh, they're coming.
And I've had every single one of them because I'm the guy that gets punched in the face and then you wake up with an apology.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Anything that I've done to hurt you, I have a spiritual and moral obligation to let you know that I'm sorry, because I need to live debt free. They all come back. In a good way. They've all come back. Not that I needed them.
And that's the same with me. Mine all come back too. The ones that kind of drop off. I've only had a couple that haven't come back, and I still don't understand why they left, but it's just life. But they always come back around.
Remember the chapstick?
Mm-hmm.
Totally. They can't. Yeah. And once again, that's not because I'm any better or I know you're not any better. We're all just the same. We're all in the same colony of life. We don't know. Like I said, Shaquille O'Neal's getting older.
Right.
He's I guarantee you he's looking at himself going, shit, I used to be, I could have been, and this and that. I just listened to Ben Affleck talking with Matt Damon the other day. Is that his name? Matt Damon?
I don't know any of that stuff.
The guy that whatever. Ben Affleck's bestie. Yes. Think it's Matt Damon. Long story short, Ben literally goes on a very, very powerful tangent about how fame is not what he wanted.
Yeah.
He doesn't but he knows it. He's also not complaining like, oh, woe is me, I get stopped everywhere I go. Yeah. He just said, I sold this for this, and he goes, now that I'm at the age, because think about it, they're our age, they grew up with us, just not at our school, and he's like, I don't know what was good and what isn't, because he's at a point right now where he's not being asked to be the star in most movies and this, that, and the other, and so he's in this.
Yeah, there's a time for everything, and it changes, and it will.
And no one, once again, correlate with, no one has any idea what the fuck they're doing. So I'm telling you, anyone out there right now that is quick to judge, that makes fun of the guy in the girl shorts or the girl sweater, or because the mascara is running or this and the other, I promise you it comes back to you tenfold too. And that ain't even called karma. That's just called being a dick. It's coming.
Yes.
And I don't even want it to happen. There's like less than 3 people that know of the people that have hurt. And almost every single time I do my research on them for my own personal level, I find out that they're dealing with something that I wouldn't put on my own worst enemy. And it doesn't make me feel better.
Karma, and it happens,
right?
And that's it.
But it doesn't make me feel better. But it just reminds me of like some of it's not self-imposed.
Well, it's a little bit of a justice feeling that feels a little good. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want anyone to suffer, but also I want there to be a tiny bit of justice for the way you've made me fucking suffer.
Well, I think what's unique is that I've noticed majority of it is not something that's out of their control, and that makes me go, if you just let go of the chapstick, man.
Right.
Just let it go.
This would never have happened if you just let that go.
No. Just let it go.
And it's just a piece of chapstick.
It's just chapstick.
You don't even need it.
The chapstick's going to be there. That's it. Chapstick and sister.
Oh, my God.
I love the nail color, by the way, Tangent Brown. Ski boot. So that's what I feel like you're, like if you're what would be your superhero name? I've never asked anybody that.
Oh, my God. I don't know.
That's a good question.
I don't know.
Bring that to your fucking job today. That's a good one. You're going to get that. I always wanted to be a bartender. I'm going to be one.
You want to hear something crazy?
Hit me.
I'm scared to
You
death
should
of
be.
It.
I'm glad that I'm
not afraid of much. I have been through hell and back. I've dragged myself through. And somebody was like, why are you doing this?
Because it's important to you.
Because it's important to me to do something I'm afraid of. And I'm afraid to do this because I don't have the best memory, man. I fucking don't. I can't remember. Like, I was never good at that memory game where you flip the cards. I could do it 6 times. I still don't know they're next to each other.
The apple is here.
My brain is just it functions so different. So this is going to be
I'm glad that you're nervy, though.
I'm super nervous.
It's going to be what I do it once a year at Johnny's place at Oceanside. I bartend, and I'm petrified.
And it's all like high-end wine, and I have to memorize it. Whatever. You know I'm funny? Doing it anyways, and I'm going to be happy about going in there and just feeling I've never done this before.
As always, I say this because I love you and I'm a fan. but you're going to end up that place is, you're going to own the place in 2 seconds.
Well, I mean, I own everything I do anyways. So.
My buddy, who rest in peace, I used to go watch him bartend at Dragonfly in Orlando.
Yeah.
He had opened the one in Gainesville, and to this day he actually has like a plaque and like a little memorial because he helped that place become because of his personality type.
Yeah.
You guys would be together actually.
Okay.
Yeah, he was like he was
That's
just
a great restaurant actually.
So I would go and watch him, and I'm like, this guy. It was so, but that genre has been around for millennia, thousands of years. Servicing spirits is something to be said. Like it's
I'm happy about it. It doesn't bother me. Be like, oh, you're in this whole holistic world, and then you're gonna start. I like to drink. I'm sorry, I don't smoke weed. I don't, I do other things when I'm doing ceremony, but I don't ever look at one thing and say that's bad. I look at everything in moderation.
I guess I should. At this point, we should probably just make a online Facebook hate club group for you called Sistars.
Stop it with this star. I can't stand the word. I can't stand it. And I don't, of course, I'm respectful and I don't say anything at the time. I was like, oh, yeah, cute. But seriously, hey, sister. No, I'm not your sister, actually. My name is Christy.
And chapstick. Do you know I failed you today in the opening because I always use first and last name and I didn't do your last. I can't. And it's French and my last name is French. Say it for the folks that LeCuyer.
It's fine, yeah.
You say it so fast every time. This time I'm not going to forget. LeCuyer. Christy LeCuyer.
It's still my ex-husband's last name, so technically it's not.
Is that why you say it?
Yeah, I leave it there because it's my son's last name, and that's important to me, and that's it. So no matter what,
are we allowed to use your original superhero last name, or we've got
no? It's gonna be that just because it's my kid's last.
Oh, you're gonna but the one before that.
Oh, my what I was born with?
Yeah.
Lovekin. My whole name actually means, you ready? It's Christy Joy Lovekin, and it means the joy and love of Christ.
Lovekin.
Isn't that crazy?
That's such a Care Bear name.
I know. Care Bear, yeah. That was the last time I ever did ayahuasca. The guy was sitting there singing the Icaros. They sing in Icaros, and it was the last time I will ever do ayahuasca. I'm complete with that. Cool experience, but okay, I'm all good. But anyway, I'm high as ever. I think they just gave me a little bit too much. And the guy's singing, and I can just feel some just not good stuff coming off of him. And I'm like, he's like trying to this is a dude that's gonna try to sleep with some people or whatever. And I start laughing, and I was like, Care Bear stare. It was really bad. So it's funny you say Care Bear. Care Bear stare, man.
Care Bears were I watched them. I'm not embarrassed to say I love the Care Bears. Yeah. Really did. You need your superhero name.
All right, we'll have to come up with it.
All right, fine.
Well, there's a whole world out there listening. So if someone comes up with a good one,
right in your to the Sistar Facebook group. Submit your name.
Submit your superhero name.
I've never been asked. I've never asked anybody.
Have a superhero
I've
name?
never. I don't know. It's good. I guess I'd rather think about it. I don't have.
You know one thing about you that I absolutely love. This is why I feel so close to you. That one time that I was really struggling, and you called me.
Get out of town.
And you were like, can I pray with you? And at that time, I was so struggling coming out of Christianity, in spiritualism, being super abused in a narcissistic relationship. Nobody knew what was happening underground at all. And I was in the worst moment of my life when you called and you were like, can I pray with you? And you just simply prayed. You didn't make it all Jesus-like. You didn't put it in any category, but you didn't make it spiritual. And it was so just balanced for me. And you prayed for me. And I hung up that phone, and I must have cried for an hour because at that moment too, I was like, what about me? I always carry the space for all these people, and I worry about all these people, but nobody even asks how I am. What about me? And you called me out of nowhere, and we didn't know each other that well. And you prayed with me, and that was it for me. I was like, he's my bro star. You my bro star.
That's my superhero name. That's a guy. That means a lot to me. I remember like it was yesterday. Yeah. I was standing by the window. I called you, and I love getting the appropriate butterflies when I'm calling someone I've never talked to before. Regardless of man, boy, girl, doesn't matter. And I'm like, I'm just going to call them. I want to call them. I want to talk to them. I do that so much to the most random people. That's awesome. I love it. And I don't always pray. And now we pray.
And let us pray, dear Jesus. It wasn't like that.
Listen, Star. No.
Bro star.
Bro star. No, I've been doing it since I'll never forget when I called the first person completely abruptly, found the phone book and the name in the phone book, called. I've been doing it ever since.
That's awesome.
So thank you for loving it, because
whatever that is,
I'm glad I caught you. You know, in this day and age, though, my first 2 questions I ask people when I call them completely abruptly is, how are you? And did I catch you at a good time?
Right.
Because no one ever asked me that.
Yeah, so that's respectful of their space.
So, but I caught you at a good time. I had no idea. I think you've told me in our growth with each other that had happened, but I hearing it again is currency to my soul, and I appreciate that, because I don't even know, and I'm not going to come up with some narrative that like I felt like I saw an ambiance of you go by. I just wanted to hear your voice, and I was so attracted to you, and I remember being like, I'm gonna call her and just tell her that I like you. But I think by that time, had you been, I don't remember chronologically if you had already started working on me, but I just wanted to talk to you. I think you had.
I think I was a little bit.
It was the very beginning,
as close as we are now, of course, but it meant everything to me. It was really, there's only one other person that I can think of that's done that for me, that has called me and been like, hey, like, this is all about you right now. And I love the position that I hold. I can hold it. It's perfect. Mm-hmm. Like, I had a girl come in my studio yesterday, and she was like, I'm so sorry for dumping on you. I'm like, no, this is what I do. Mm-hmm. I can hold it. I've got it's endless for me, but not very many people reciprocate it, because they think that I'm so strong. They don't think that I need it. They're like, she's good. She's awesome. She's powerful. Mm-hmm. No, girl, like, I struggle too.
We're the weakest ones.
For real. Sometimes I'll wake up in the morning and just like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But I think that case, that vulnerability, I have people sometimes say, why do you like, not handle, like, why do you like hearing everyone's story? And I don't have an answer to that. I really don't. I don't know if it's because it helps me. It helps me. I think ultimately it really helps me. When you talk to me that day, you know how much it means to me that you said, like, and I take no integrity or validity behind, like, away from the fact that it helped you, but it helped me.
Yeah. Well, and that brings me to, like, my most favorite thing in the entire world, which is mudita.
What does that mean?
And mudita in Sanskrit means the joy that you receive from watching me be in joy. Mm. And so when I'm, calling you and venting to
Say
you,
it again.
And then it's called mudita.
Mudita. I've seen it.
Mudita. It's on my website.
It is. Mudita.
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 Yeah, mudita. And it's the joy that you receive from watching me receive joy. And that's my life path.
I have this.
You have that too. So when people are like calling you and they're dumping on you, what do you get out of it? You get out of it that you have created some joy for them, to have some relief, and that brings you joy.
I know your superhero name.
Mudita.
Boom.
Perfect. Perfect.
And the next convo, we'll figure out what of many superpowers you have. I don't know. You could do a lot of things. That's for sure. No, nothing. You're not like you're not a Batman superhero though. You have you do have like something. It's like you have wonderful intuition. That I'll give you. You know what's amazing is that I think people they fear you.
You think so?
I guarantee you right now that being someone that you've worked on me for a long time, if my motive wasn't pure, right? Come on, because you get really intimate with people, meaning like, and I hope people are receiving this well. When I say intimate, it doesn't mean you're sticking your finger in my ass.
Intimacy doesn't.
People are like, see, I told you.
Intimacy is not about sex, people. Come on.
Like the way you work on me is extremely the most amazing. And I'm not saying this because I've had 2 people touch me. I've had tons of different types of people give me massages and this, that, and the other. You have this like, oh shit, in a good way. Mm-hmm. And I can almost guarantee you that it's probably one of your biggest blessings, but kryptonites, meaning that, and this doesn't just correlate just in the situation of you're caring for somebody, but probably even like how many times have we've never actually went out and played yet, but how many times have we talked about doing it? And I guarantee you the minute you wouldn't if you knew my motive was really truly like trying to like to try on. Mm-hmm. And there's something to be said. And I talk about this a lot with the women I confide in, but like, I feel like the reason why I'm so well received amongst humans is that I don't cloak it. I've never once said to you, I'm going to be your gay friend. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be your brother, or I'm going to be like a father figure to you. No, I'm going to be your fake boyfriend. I'm going to remind you that you are absolutely drop dead amazing and well pursued, well wanted, but I'm going to respect you. I have no qualms in letting a woman know that with not having to abuse the next step either. But that's a rare commodity, I've noticed, that every man or every human being wants to emulate that. It's like even today, how many people are you going to service? They're gonna keep getting a drink, even though they probably don't even want one, because
I'm gonna make sure they keep getting a drink. I want that tip.
Damn right. But you hear my heart though?
I do,
They're
yeah,
using that as the segue
Right.
where there's no value to it. And you have this, no joke, I'll never forget. This was probably the third or fourth time you had worked on me. And I was like, I am so thankful that I'm like honest, because I put myself in such a vulnerable position with you.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, I know you could almost probably feel it. And I'm not trying to sound like woo-woo shit where like it's gonna like the lights are gonna flicker. I just knew that like you could feel me.
Yeah.
And I felt so comfortable, but I guarantee you it's the same reason why a lot of people don't confide in me and or you.
I never
Because
looked at it that way.
yeah, think about it.
It's I'm very kind when I do. I know people's motive, especially men and even women now.
No,
I know their motive. Their motive is, men's motive is usually something around sex.
Mm-hmm.
Women's motive is usually something around, and it's funny to say because you always think of men are narcissists, but there are some narcissistic women out there. It's something around something that they're going to need or want to take from you. And it's like, this is so interesting. But I do call them out for sure. I'm very kind about it because I look at everyone as I can help them in some way. How can I help them?
Right.
But some of the men though, it's like, okay, you gotta go.
Well,
I've kicked a few men out.
That's your
like,
filter process. Is that,
like I'll say one time, like, okay, I understand you're a man, but you need to get your head right, or we're gonna have to stop. And then the second time, like, get the fuck out. I'll just push it right back, open up the door, get the fuck out.
That was one of my few but yet redundant questions that I would ask you, knowing how. Once again, I can only imagine how many people take what you do and try to abuse it because it's so personable. It's so intimate. It's not, you're not selling tacos.
Right.
You're getting intimate with somebody's physical being and where they're at and this. And I knowing, unfortunately, it was funny. I say this out of complete anonymity for these people, but the majority of the guys that I see at the soccer realm, they are very open because they're a bunch of guys. And it was funny. There had been some women with the soccer crew, and it was post game, and one of the guys cumulatively all and unanimously agreed that like no dude is fucking friends with a girl, right? Now I know, and I don't want to sound like the knight in shining armor. I knew deep down inside, I'm like, I am. Like I'm literally going to.
I keep hearing this though. Even the guy that I'm with now, he says the same thing. He's like, no man at all. And is going to be friends with a girl. True. That does not ever happen.
That's why I think as I'm adulting, I'm not well received among. I had a woman come up to me at a venue here recently that just moved here, married, beautiful, the whole 9 yards. And she wanted me to meet her husband. It was like, but she had already set the tone of like, you're my man, you're my new Flagler boy, this, that. And I could tell, super inebriated, but a sweetheart of a woman, but she wanted to meet her man. And she goes, no joke, verbatim. She goes, well, before you meet him, can you say you're gay? So I was like, and I haven't actually been misbehaving, by the way, in the last 2 months plus. I haven't really been. So
you had to say that you were gay?
Well, I didn't.
No.
I couldn't. No. I could. Now, don't get me wrong. I'll joke around, and by all means, I'm not being derogatory towards being gay. That's the other. But she wanted me to portray
yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the portraying is in the lie.
So I'm like, I'm literally, and there were people with me, and they're like, don't go. I am unfortunately a glutton for love and attention. So of course I'm like, all right, but I'm going very unwillingly to the point of like, normally I would just be.
Wait, you're going unwillingly, but you're going for the attention.
100%. I would admit that. Yeah, I mean, come on. I got that. I'm also. I'm never gonna.
You were so funny.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like say it's. I also do love being loved. Like I'm not.
We all do.
But I didn't know that. So the the pretense of this going on. I go. I'm not gonna play gay. Like I don't even. But I mean, I would look gay enough. So I'll just go with that. Is that okay? You're like, yeah. So okay? I go, and there was like 5 women, 5 men, and I could tell right away. The guys are like, why the fuck are you bringing this guy over here? Oh no. And I'm like, why am I even coming over here? And I'm sound mind, sound body, sober. Like I'm not even misbehaving at all. So I walk over there. The guy goes, he's huge too. He's a big guy, and I'm not that big. He's a big guy. And she was a big girl, so they made a good looking couple. And he goes, oh, this guy ain't gay. He's gonna lick your vagina. And then we fell in love though, because I love that. And we did. We actually like hit it off. I'm like,
it's authentic.
I'm like, you did it. You dealing with this? tip my hat off. But my point coming full circle with everything is that, yeah, there is a very, very, very slim amount of people that you are going to be able to associate with that don't have an ulterior motive. But I feel like there's sincerity, and I feel like there's something to be said with, I came to this restaurant to get full.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, and thank you for saying that, because there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
And so many people make something wrong with that. And it's like, yeah, but don't make something wrong with that when you're trying to do it too in your own way.
Right.
Stop judging all of it.
I guess I'm not here to like tell anybody how to live or what not to do and this, that, and the other, because I have no idea what I'm doing. But I would say, when like being able to be friends with you under the context of, you make me full.
Yeah. You know, one of the biggest thing that I say to anybody in my life, and when they try to tell me like, oh, you can't, like, let's say that I'm married and then I want to go have dinner with you.
Right.
And it's like, well, he just wants to fuck you. Don't limit my love. Do not limit my love. I have enough love for everyone.
Right.
Every single ounce of human on this planet, and animal and tree and all of it. I have enough love for it all. Don't limit my love. And ladies, don't let your love be limited. And guys, don't let your love be limited either.
You know, it's funny. I'm gonna say something that is not a crowd favorite, but I don't really care.
Awesome. Love those.
Jealousy. Is that how you say it?
Yeah. Insecurity.
Jealousy is the most debilitating, war-causing, country-burning,
and the most unattractive thing on earth.
Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that all of us as human beings have the anatomy and the psychological, like the biological chemical that's going to create despair and but I thank God it could change. So I'm holding on to it, and it's fragile. I don't have that bone. Thank God. Literally, thank God. I've never been, I guess because I've always demanded so much of it for myself, because I'm not an easy guy to be with at all. For those that know me, I am not an easy guy to deal with and tolerate, because I am not blind and I am not mute, and I will look and I will talk, but it's what I do when no one's looking, which matters. And I could tell you, the jealousy thing is probably the most debilitating thing amongst companionships that I see. It's the chapstick factor. They come into relationships holding 17,000 cans of chapstick and then think that the relationship is going to transpire in a healthy way with jealousy added. It's too much weight. It's the last bit of a dynamic that it doesn't even correlate just in companionship. For instance, even if us
friendship, anything,
if I didn't love you alone, and let's just say I was like, yo, girl, I've asked you to hang out 100 times, and of course I'm just as guilty, George, so that you hear my heart.
Oh, you're the one that cancels me, by the way, just so you know. Are you just afraid of me? Come on, bro star.
Mudita.
What is it, bro star?
But you see what I'm saying? Like there's so many people that you call them after the umpteenth week or time. Where have you been? Like, never. I gotta go. You know, like it's guilt, expectations, obligations, but ultimately it comes down to schoolyard jealousy. And I can guarantee, sister, you deal with a lot of that.
Jealousy is a really difficult one. I actually learned how to not be jealous through a very difficult situation when I was in the polyamorous relationship. That was the most difficult thing that I've ever done in my life, but I'm so grateful for it,
right? Because
it taught me how not to have jealousy, and I had to train and you have to actually train yourself on many things when you have, and jealousy is a man-made thing because it's not natural. It's man-made. Somewhere along the line, man made it for control of something.
Right.
And we had, like I said, with that ball of yarn.
Could have been girl, though. Girls could have made it.
Girls definitely made it.
Yeah,
girls are more jealous than men. You guys have your issues.
We got issues.
Different story.
You know what I love about a dude that does confide in me? And they'll be like, oh, man, this girl, she's doing this and doing that. And she's so jelly and she's blowing me up. And I'm like, what's she doing? Like what? How
exactly?
They're
because
usually
let me just say
worst.
One thing: the reason that when we start acting real crazy jealous is because we fucking know what you're doing.
Boom shakalaka.
Because our intuition is on point, and your motherfucking ass, if you gave me your phone right now, wouldn't be correct. Boom.
And it's funny because the guys will be like, "Yeah, she's going through my phone. She's doing this," and
because what are you doing?
Right. But it's funny because that's the double standard. You know, I've probably have seen more in the adulting realm. Because I feel like I just graduated high school yesterday and I'm still like, oh my God, this is all new to me. I've seen so many. The double standard thing is a big, like, don't put your cup there, please. And then I
put your cup there. I'd watch that constantly. I'm like, that's worse than sister.
That would be one of my kryptonites.
Yeah.
People that, and if it's worse enough when I see it being exercised, but when I'm affected.
That's most of the leaders in all of the communities that do that kind of shit.
You know what I've been saying a lot lately? And then once again, for those that have done it before, they're like, but this is our now. Leaders in any position should not be self-appointed.
Thank you. Can you repeat that?
Leaders in any position should not be self-appointed. They should be like, I will say it just like I say with you. Like, I'm not your gay friend. I'm your fake boy. I love you. I will always want to remind you that I don't want to have to take care of the soccer community 2 to 3 times a week and buy the polls and do with this and I can say that appropriately because it's a labor of love. So I gain from that labor. So it's not just for them. I love doing it, but I wasn't self-appointed. It was more of like, can you help? You can afford it. Can you do it?
And that's how it should be, because the self-appointed is the ego. When you're running out of ego, it's not authentic and there's no love in it.
But that keeps me at bay without abusing the power. Because I can say, and some may hear that and they may be under too much high fructose corn syrup and go, you don't want to do soccer? Like, no, hear my heart. I don't want to be the one that has to get all the shit all the time. Yeah. And it's not a financial thing. It's just annoying. Yeah. But it's something that you guys I could see can't do. So I'll do it. Because
and you're appointing me to because you know that I can
it's like love. Like, I don't want to sit in the dismay and the oasis of polite pain without my best friend. Right. But it's something that happens by consequence of love. Yeah. So it's like, but that's my whole point is I think people that are like, when I see someone now at this age that are like, I want to be in charge. I'm like, you do it. And then I get to be next to you.
Yeah. How about you want to be in charge? You should be the last person in charge.
Well, that's usually the case. But I could tell much power usually comes to responsibility and then the abuse, etc.
Of course.
But Mudita. That's what I said. That's your superhero name.
That's what I live for. That, like, that's what fills me up. When I sit down sometimes I'm like, well, what about me? Because I do that sometimes. I remind myself, fuck you, Christy, Mudita. Everything you do, you bring joy to another person. You're helping them to become more powerful, more of themselves, stand in their truth, be who they are, feel something they've never felt before, get away from abuse. That brings me joy. That's the what about me. That's it right there. Mudita.
I can't tell you how much I love you. This was did we do it? Look at
we did.
I knew it was going to be fantastic. Yeah. I'm not even and for all those who've done the show before, I'm not trying to rob anything from you, but I wasn't at all just nervous with you.
Oh, that's good.
I usually get, not because of the guest, but like even yesterday, I almost set up the show before today, like to have, this doesn't take much, but like, I just like to get
Did you put the chapstick there on purpose?
On purpose. This was all part of the
like, I have to remember the chopstick.
Still to this day, I get messages from people I have no idea who they are. And as if I care, or like I make money off of it because it's like, they're like, nice live show, bro. Like they don't think it's really, I don't know why. But I guess it keeps, I know why. It keeps me happy knowing that every syndication that I actually do watch aren't live. That's probably the only thing that separates me from anybody else doing these things.
Are they not live usually?
They're all somewhat edited.
I've only done this one other time.
Yeah. They're all a little bit edited. Most of them, if it was live.
Don't edit any of my words.
They just literally we're that's it. Okay. There's I couldn't anyways.
Do not edit me. No.
The show is just like a static image of you.
Pet peeve editing.
It's a star. No, I really, and I even found out recently over the years that like Rogan's isn't even actually because of legality purpose, which I don't blame him. If I had 10 million viewers at the show, maybe you want a little edit, but like to split to this to that. But mine is so elementary that you really, what you see is what you get. But my point is all that is irrelevant to the fact that it just keeps me, I like getting picked on now. Yeah. It keeps me.
Well, I see my next audience, the people that are picking on me, is like, you're going to be at my women's retreat one of these days. I know
it. Here's the reservation.
I will rub your feet because I do. The first thing I do is I sit these girls down and I rub their feet. Get on your knees and be in service.
That's biblical.
It is biblical.
cleaning
That's
someone's
exactly
feet.
where I got it. Well, I got it from that, and then my brother, who was murdered, that was one of the last things that I did with him. He came in from the homeless community, and he was an absolute wreck. And my husband at the time was pissed because he was going to get the carpet dirty, or however it went. In my head, it went this way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh yeah. And I sat him down in the living room, and I brought over a big thing, and I washed his feet, and we just cried together. And it was like just so powerful to me.
That is literally biblical.
So powerful.
I'm not robbing you of your
No, it's
but
okay.
that's why it's so spiritual to you. Is that it's
very spiritual.
It's something that, think about this. How many people that have listening to this have you washed somebody else's feet?
Yeah,
it's powerful.
Yeah. Well, the one that I'm doing, my girls' day that I'm doing coming up on the 12th, I'm making them wash each other's feet. I'm gonna sit back. I was like, this is at my house, actually.
You guys do.
Yeah, it's the first time it's ever been at my house and in my own personal
I love
space.
seeing the images of your retreats because they're I can only, being someone that you've worked on, I'm like appropriately jelly. I'm like,
you know, what was
I
the
can
most
feel it.
beautiful one was the one that Camille came
know,
to.
I
We
saw
weren't
it.
on anything because I've gotten to a point where I'm like, we don't need shit.
Right.
Like, I'm realizing this now,
Right.
And it's nice to have, but we don't need shit.
Right.
And so there was nothing, and it was so pure. And there were how many girls? And it started with one girl, and then, you know, when we flipped them over, and because we were doing the Ayurvedic oils, we flipped them over, and they would take off their tops, so we get at their back, and then that girl would just get up and move over,
Right.
and then by the end, so every one there was less clothing, and
Right.
by the end, and then I was the last one to go, and like they were all working on me topless, and it was just.
Tribal, bro.
I don't know what was so beautiful about it, because it was not sexual at all.
Right.
It wasn't even sensual. It was so pure.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, this is the ancient practice of like women coming together and being pure together and being like just naked of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And we were laughing, we were crying. It was so beautiful.
One of the most beautiful things that I've always been able to experience now is that through my own self-doubt and my own self-image, being naked around somebody is the most amazing feeling. It's
liberating. Yeah. It's beautiful. And then it makes you feel beautifully. Yeah. We all have flaws, like every single one of us.
All of us.
And at that time, I had my boobs done, by the way, telling the whole world. And I'm happy. I'm really happy that I did it, and it's very personal to me because I couldn't breastfeed, and there was this whole thing around that. And I hadn't had that yet with these girls. And it was really around the first time that even I had been topless in front of that many women. And I could have had a huge insecurity of like, well, you know, they're saggy or they're not beautiful or whatever. Yeah. And we were all so like, we all had our flaw in so many ways, except for your wife, actually, because she was like perfection. We were all like, yeah, every one of us has our flaws except for Camille. It was beautiful. But it was that whole scene was so precious to me because I knew that would be the last time that anyone would see me in that form. And there was a lot of shame that I held within my breast at that moment, or not that moment, but still at that time. Right. And that would be the last time that everyone would see that. And that's why that whole scene was so beautiful to me. So even though I'm holding space for these women to heal, I'm healing so much.
Well, that's what, once again, there you go. That's what probably it's okay to those that go to, I'm using this completely figuratively, but like AKA a companionship or a friendship and go, oh, I'm not here for the food. I'm sorry, that was a bad example for this. I don't like the food. I don't know actually how to describe this one because it's once again having a man or a woman say that like, oh, we're just gonna like, I'm not into you.
Right,
I'm just,
right.
Like,
I got it. I understand what you're saying.
She's beautiful. And you could say you would. We're tribal, man. It's humans on humans. It's about how you act.
Right. It's about what you behind do. The truth.
Right. It's about what you're doing behind closed doors. Is your motive not? It's all about the motive. Yeah. I think it's those that falsify. So once again, I think it's beautiful that you go, look, I'm healing just as much, if not probably more than you guys by doing
more.
This.
That's why I do it.
So thank you. Yeah. And the same thing, once again, when you even complimented me or gave me that gratitude of like, thank you for calling and praying for me. To me, I thank you. And I mean that. Like, that's not to be chivalrous. Like, thank you, Grammy award-winning moment. Like, I'm literally, I hung up that phone feeling more fulfilled and happy because it wasn't under false pretenses.
Right.
It was literally.
So, and this, what we are creating and what we're talking about right now is actually what everyone is desiring.
Yeah. Well, I think people are scared of it. Well, that's why we're intimidated. I don't think I'm intimidating. I think the principle of, like, for instance, I know so many men that have confided in me and they're like, dude, I want to talk to them like that. I'm like, then do it.
Right.
Just stop being a fucktard behind closed doors because you're sliding into her DMs at night.
Yeah, for
Like,
real.
When all those out there that I text, what I text, you'll notice the common denominator amongst all the people that I text, it doesn't even warrant a response. I'm not trying to fuck you. It's legitimately to tell you I'm thinking about you, with a caveat being you're beautiful.
People don't understand that love doesn't need to be limited.
Yeah, it's
and the issue that you're gonna have, and which I've heard on my end.
I'm sure, yeah,
you for sure. The issue that you're having is that the men have set that tone of you can't just do that, and you're trying to just do that. So right away, you're not really just trying to do that.
Of course.
But my father taught me every judgment helps you to become a better person. Mudita.
Now I need to know your costume. You're going to have some kind of, that will be our next little banter next time I see you. Like, what's your costume look like? It's not going to be much, so capes are overrated. No cape.
Listen, if somebody can draw it there, they should draw me in my superhero costume. We're going to get an inbox.
Turn it into an NFT and you retire.
That's awesome.
By the way, I'm just starting to give those back out.
Oh, cool.
So I made those a long time ago, which, by the way, I got to actually check to see if let me see something real quick. Nope. I gotta fix that. So the website still works. I just have to. So anyways, that's the magnets I made a while back.
Cool, thank you.
I love
this was a lot of fun.
Did we do it?
Yeah, we did.
Is there anything else you think we could?
No, thank you so much for having me on the show. I've been waiting for it.
Let me check my script. And yeah, that's
and we had the bullet point of doing, and you didn't say that, but you said that.
Chapstick, Mudita, Sistar.
So funny.
I love you.
Love you too.
All right. And we do Purdue Ski Beat.